I told you to put your clothes on. Everybody told you. Come on, they got a blanket.
Come on.
Kenzie, come on.
Got a blanket for you.
On February 14th, 2022, Valentine's Day to be exact, at approximately 6:58 a.m., officers with the Columbus Division of Police were dispatched to a location on a call about a woman in the street yelling and possibly waving around a knife.
There's a girl out front, like, screaming, and it looks like she's carrying a knife around. I don't know what her issue is. I'm not walking outside to find out, but...
Give me a description of her.
The officers arrived on scene and found a woman who appeared to be intoxicated on an unknown substance, or perhaps a combination of unknown substances. After speaking to the woman for a short period of time, they decided to transport her to a local hospital for treatment. While in the back seat of the cruiser, and with it being Valentine's Day, romance was in the air. The woman found herself alone, and with nobody to have romantic relations with. The woman decided to take off all of her clothing and have romantic relations with herself. The rest, as they say, is history. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. And I'll talk to you soon.
Actual address is going to be 98.
I don't know what for. Are you having problems?
Problems?
Yeah.
Negative, we're fine. What's going on?
Nothing at all.
Okay, well, it's...
We're getting calls on
Are
you
these
screaming.
You gonna go to the hospital and talk to somebody?
Baby, we can do whatever you want. Come on.
What all did you take?
Baby, I swear to God, just like, I didn't smoke a damn thing.
How much meth did you smoke?
I ain't smoked a damn thing.
Come on now. Let's not lie to each other.
I ain't never lied. We just mother.
Alright, relive it.
For real, I stay right the fuck here and thank God that just happened.
What numbers?
103.
100. Okay.
Okay, do you have a key to get in?
I lost my shit minus 100.
Okay.
Okay,
They are safe, boys.
well, you need to go inside. But you can't go in there. She lost her key minus 100. I never heard that one. That was a new one for me.
Is she waving?
Or praying. I'm not sure which one.
Hallelujah. Where did she go?
Behind that truck.
Oh. Let's see what happens.
She over on the other side? In that White House?
She said 100, which could be there, but...
The medics aren't going to do anything for her.
What's that?
I said the medics aren't going to do anything for her.
We're on the way?
No?
Oh, I didn't know if you...
No, I mean, she's clearly geeking. They're not going to do anything for her, so.
Unless her vitals are...
She was in the bottom. I'm not sure.
Don't put her up on us. That's our business. You want to go somewhere and get warm? Where do you live?
I'll stay right here, but I like
what
to walk
street?
this month in the cold. For
What
real,
street?
like, I don't even know. Bumblebees.
What
Stay
street?
right here, but
What-
I like
what-
to
what
walk
street?
this month in the cold. For
What
real,
street?
like, I don't even know. Bumblebees.
What street?
Right here.
No, what street? Because I'm not sure you know where you're at.
Starting with planet. Do you know what planet?
What is your home address?
Not this it.
Oh, I know. Tell me the numbers and the street, please. You can't just say.
Perfect place to pause it. Let me get up in this where I can see the chat here. Let me take my phone and put it on Do Not Disturb. Let me know if you can hear me. I think I've got the mute off. I have to wait like a minute and a half for you guys to tell me if you can hear me. We shall see. What is going on? I got my coffee. I've got a little bit of one of my daughter's Halloween candy. I'm gonna munch on that here in a minute. I know we're live. I don't remember how to do this. How's everyone doing? We've got 35 people so far. Hear me fine. Fantastic. I'm excited for this. When I started this YouTube channel, I didn't really think that I was going to live stream ever. And I did it one night kind of on a whim. And it's a lot of fun. I enjoy hanging out with you guys doing this kind of stuff. Then life got a little too hectic. Over the summer, I could not keep up with this. It was everything I could do just to put out the videos and things that I was doing. So had to take a little break. And I appreciate you guys being patient with me. One thing that happened while I was taking that break, I've made some friends. You guys know about some of my friends. Connor, good to see you. Usually you're way later than that. I do remember a couple of things. You guys have already met some of my friends. You've already met Lenny from Poorly Made Police Memes. He and I have become really good friends since I made my first appearance on the podcast. I think he did a live stream with me one time before as well. It was the charity live stream where we raised money to buy a furnace for a young lady that needed one, which I haven't asked her yet if it's working well this winter because we have had a couple of cold nights. So I'm sure she appreciates that and she appreciates all of you guys. But one thing that I do struggle with when I'm doing the live streams or just when I'm making videos in general is kind of keeping the conversation going because it's really helpful to have someone to bounce things off of. And Lenny and I we work pretty well together. I think we do. We get along great. And he actually approached me and said that he wouldn't. Well, I think I was begging him. I don't know how long I've been doing this, but sometime back, I was begging him to come do my live streams with me. I thought that we would kind of knock it out of the park and we could do something that a lot of people aren't doing. He was very reluctant to doing that. And then just recently, when I was on vacation, he came around. So we're going to try this tonight. It's going to be the Ben and Lenny show. I still forget. I have to look over my screen. I got him on a little camera over there. Still forget his name because it was Larry for the first year. I like Larry better. Ben and Larry sounds better than Ben and Lenny. We can argue about that here in a minute. But we've got some thank you for your services in there. You guys are hilarious. I know those are PM members. Without further ado, because I am not any good at this, I want to introduce you all again to Lenny from PM or Poorly Made Police Memes, the meme lord himself, or at least this is the meme lord that I pray to. How you doing, buddy?
Thanks for my service, by the way.
I don't think it works that way.
I think it does, and I want you to know that I did it for you.
You know, I do appreciate that. You've done a lot of things for me, just like tonight. This is a big deal. I'm very excited. Are you able to keep up in the chat? Because I suck at it.
I'm gonna keep my eye on it. I gotta be honest, man. I'm a little nervous showing my face. Feels like court. I feel like I'm in court right now. A lot easier being anonymous.
I gotta be honest, man. It looks a little bit like you're sharing my face rather than sharing your own face.
A fatter, pale version of you. Yes.
Well, I'm actually quite pale, but the lighting and the camera settings help. We'll have to work on that with you.
I have a single light down here in the dungeon. Like, think a detective light. It's a single light right above me.
I like it. Here's a funny thing. I have a lot of lights, and none of them are turned on except for the overhead light that you're not supposed to use for this kind of thing. So who cares? I've got these like fancy lights. I don't know if I turn them on, if you can even tell. Wait, oh crap.
Say this is it. This is his house.
Wait, I don't want that right now. Let me show you. Oh, only one of them is working right now. Did that change anything?
It did. It got brighter. Yeah.
Yeah, it got brighter behind me. I can't put them on me because my bald head shines too much.
You need a clapper. That's what you need.
I do.
Still exist?
Do what?
Do the clappers still exist?
I don't know. I'm assuming they do. Well, now everything's replaced with like Alexa and stuff like that.
Isn't that creepy? You can tell Alexa to turn the light on and off. I mean, like I'm so lazy now. The kids all have like the dots, and we just yell at each other through the dots anymore instead of going upstairs.
I haven't figured out how to do that. My kids have Alexas in their rooms, but we don't have them anywhere else in the house. Can you like pair dots with Alexa? I don't know how it works.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. So if you have Alexa on your phone, by the way, Amazon should pay us. This is like free advertising, but it's awesome. Like I can be across town and I can get on Alexa and get them in the room in the dot and say, hey, go, turn on the stove or whatever.
Yeah. My wife has all that stuff on her phone. I do not. And I don't know how to make it work. So I don't know. I can figure out how to do all this crap, but not that. And I spent my entire day editing, which some people think takes smarts. It really doesn't. Roy Jones on Wheels, he would be the one to know. He said the clapper does still exist. He's in a wheelchair, so he might use one. Roy, do you use one? Roy is a good friend of mine. Roy lives near the area where I patrol, and I've actually stopped and seen him at work.
That's pretty cool, man. I have to give everybody advance warning. I'm occasionally going to switch things up a little bit because if I move too much, my mustache will go away. So if I want to have a sip of beer here,
Whoa.
I got to be frog.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Grunt Style should sponsor me. They should. I had a shirt on earlier that was not Grunt Style, but I figured for bringing back the live stream, I had to bring back the Whiskey Help shirt. It's one of my favorites. I think it fits. So it is what it is. I need to reach out to them. Because like I get emails about sponsorships all the time, but the ones that I get emails about are like those stupid sponsors that Popo Medic used to do. Remember when he first was like, I'm going to go full-time YouTube, and you watch his videos and it would be like the wine of the month and the colognes. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that shit. Yeah.
I was like, I'm not fucking doing that. Like no one's going to believe that I buy cologne anyway. Or that I'm going to drink this wine that comes in the mail. Like that stuff is a scam.
Yeah.
So.
I always get here's some inside baseball. I always get emails like daily, like, hey, give us access to your Facebook page and we'll post ads for Nike and we'll pay you, like an exorbitant amount of money. Like bullshit. No one's paying me $1,000 a day. Come on.
Well, that's what happened to like Officer Daniel's Facebook page and some other pages. I think they just let management companies take over them, and he took it back. But
I could be making $1,000 a day.
I think they were making pretty good money, but you basically lose control of your page, and their posts they'll share like all that like stupid, what is it? Like all of the viral, anything that goes viral, they'll just share it on your page, which is dumb. And it turns into
I saw
like
Officer
a farm.
Smith the other day has been doing that, and like Deputy Misdemeanor and all these great pages. All you get is just random bullshit.
Yeah, they're not running their own pages anymore, which sucks. Because I followed some of them.
The Heather with the toilet whiner bust. I'm in on that. That's a good call.
The toilet wine sponsorships, or should we have a live stream where we both drink toilet wine while we stream?
I'm up for anything, man. Look at where I record a podcast. That's nothing.
I'm in my basement as
the
well.
Toilet wine.
And I did paint this before I started podcasting, but I do like your motif. I appreciate it.
I don't know what motif means.
I don't know if I use it properly.
What does it fucking mean?
I don't know. It's like your ambiance, your decorations. Someone will correct me in the chat if I'm wrong.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought this was kind of funny. This video that I was playing when everybody was warming up. Couple things about this particular video. The guys in this video told me about it, and they're like, "Dude, you have to pull this." So I pulled it, and I also asked for the backseat cruiser camera. Which, let me see, we're at 5:17. If you go to the end of the video when they're at the hospital, she gets out of the car naked.
Oh no!
So they get it.
Told you.
Yeah.
Come on.
Damn.
Come on, let's go.
I'm already behind.
Have a seat.
So, if you listen to the beginning of that video, she was extremely like flirty. She was extremely high. She was high out of her mind and flirty. When they put her in the back of the car, she took off all of her clothes and went to town on herself while they were driving to the hospital. And no. I requested the backseat camera, and I put a note in there. I was like, I realize that you're going to have to censor this, and I apologize. I got an email back that says, "Hey, I'm sorry, but it's too graphic. We're going to have to deny the backseat camera." That was one of my favorite little inside baseball things. And then I also got a kick out of this part. Oh, because that's right, because I know this location and the guy that they're talking to. Where did I put it? I put a thing on the screen. Yeah, they're asking like about his house, whatever. That's a dope house that they're standing in front of. And the guy there with the beard is like a handyman for dope houses. If like he drives this spray painted truck that has a cab on the back and it's full of shit everywhere he goes. And if you see his truck parked in front of a house, you can be pretty much guaranteed that it's a dope house and that he's working on it because he's the dope house handyman. I don't know. I got a kick out of putting stuff like that in videos and that nobody actually knows about.
That sounds like a good gig, man. The dope house, the handyman. You're going to get paid in cash. You're not going to file taxes. I think he's onto something there, you know?
I don't know if he gets paid in cash. He might get paid in something else.
I mean, there's that too. I mean, when in Rome, you know?
So, here's a little inside joke. He's not even aware of it. If you listen to Lenny's podcast, you haven't been doing this recently, but you did for a while. You were talking about like your weight loss journey and stuff, and every week on the podcast, you talk about how much weight you lost.
There's not much of a journey. Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, dude. I kind of fell off the wagon too. I started back up recently.
Each other a little bit, and then I need you to call me fat every day is what I need, and you fucking backed off.
I know I'm too busy.
You're too busy to send me a text message and say you're fat. How busy are you?
It's a time change. I don't want to wake you up.
It's an hour. It's all right.
Oh, it's only an hour?
I need to hear it, bud. I need to hear it.
I get up at like 4:45. I'll do it. I promise.
Okay.
And we can also tell.
Well, I was going to say, anybody that's listening to the podcast, will you quit interrupting me? We're really good at this.
No, I'm not going to stop interrupting you.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. What were you saying?
Anybody that's listening to my podcast, I very frequently mention that I'm fat. So.
Oh, okay. I did take that off. No, and I was going to tell people too to it's probably not appropriate to leave those comments on Instagram and Facebook, is it?
What? To call me fat?
Yeah.
They're going to get kicked off.
They'll get you in a bad mood and you'll start dropping the ban hammer.
No, I mean by Instagram, they'll be like, "Oh, that's shaming. We got to get you out."
Oh, and speaking of Instagram, sorry, my cough. I had to change my filters because I had hidden word filters up. I had to take the word racist off because I put up a video of a woman being racist on Instagram today, and all these people were like, "She's racist," and their comments were automatically getting deleted. I was like, I need to change that filter.
Yeah, I got one deleted. You put something stupid up, and I was like, milk is racist or something, and
yeah,
it got taken down. Yeah,
it cracks me up. And people think that they think that they're ruining my life by making inappropriate comments on Instagram because I have to like scour them and delete them. But they don't know that Instagram just deletes them for me.
Beautiful.
It's kind of awesome.
I didn't know that existed. I haven't had any problems with trolls in a while, but since I'm on your channel, they're probably going to come to my page now.
They have basically died off. Like I get
literally or figuratively.
Well, most of them are pretty stupid, so I don't think they're like fruit flies. They only live for like 3 days.
Oh, okay.
I think that's how it worked. They have the attention span of gnats, so there's that. For the people watching that aren't aware, some guy with like 1.5 million followers made a video that said I was racist, and he sent people after me, which was hilarious. And they basically forgot about me. I get death threats a couple times a day, but that's about it. And I'm not worried about death threats because they're just nerds. So it is what it is. But for a couple of days, I was getting like hundreds of messages a day. I like that one. That's pretty good.
That one's good.
Yeah, I was getting hundreds of messages a day. Now it's down to like 1 or 2. So that's very manageable. That's stuff that I expect when you're running this kind of channels. So here's something I would like to talk about. Should we get into topics?
Yeah, let's fucking do it.
Here, I'll say when Lenny and I got together and started talking about how we're going to do live streams and stuff, I guess the plan is whatever is big in the news, we'll kind of cover. Like if there's a big shooting that happens or a big police related incident, we'll talk about that. Whatever video is out there, we'll talk about that. If not, we'll try to think of topics that we think are interesting. Tonight we have one. Let me figure out how to pull up this playlist right here.
You know what I don't like is I'm looking at the chat and then I'm looking back at the camera because I think that's what I'm supposed to do is look at the camera here. But I can see my eyes moving back and forth, and I'm like, "Fuck!" I probably look like I got nystagmus. I'm like bouncing back and forth here. People think,
"Oh, it's not that bad." It's way more pronounced than nystagmus.
Okay, it bugs the shit out of me though.
I wonder if I could check you for nystagmus on camera.
I don't think it works that way.
Damn it.
Wow. I mean, I've literally had a couple sips of spotted cow, so I don't know.
I don't drink before I start. I start with coffee, and then I got whiskey behind me. You can't see it in this angle. I can do this. There's my whiskey. And tonight, since it's first time back streaming for a while, I broke out the good stuff. I've got some.
So I see. Hold on a second, real quick.
Taylor.
Oh, that's nice. I see a comment on there. What are some ways officers take out their frustrations? Is this
Where's
somebody
that?
you know, or do we got a troll in our midst?
No, there's some new people tonight.
Okay.
That doesn't look like a troll comment to me.
Okay.
I think it's genuine.
I guess I just always assume the worst, and I'm like, does he want me to say that we beat our wives?
I get so tired of that one. Like, I know that you think it's funny. It's funny because it's so stupid, because they're so freaking ignorant that they just bring up the same disproven statistics. But that one of all of them kind of annoys me because we're like the ones that are out there arresting people for beating their wives. I don't know it. And maybe it's because that's like a soft spot that I have. Like, you know, we go on so many DV calls and the majority of them are just bullshit. They're two drunks that are just mad at each other and they want the other one arrested. But then you do get those like serious ones. And like, I don't know, it's a big deal. It's not something I take lightly. So that one does kind of get at me a little bit. I shouldn't have said it publicly.
Oh yeah, now you fed the trolls, and it's my fault.
Yeah.
I like the guy that says the masturbation.
I mean, I'm
not going to admit that publicly, of course. Allegedly.
I have some eyesight problems. If you want to go before we do our main topic of the night, if you want to answer some of those, like, what do you think about the stress relief question?
Well, I don't know. It's tough. Like I played hockey when I was on the job, so that was nice, but it was only one day a week. I got to be honest. I'm probably like the worst person to ask because what did I fucking do? I did cop shit 24/7. I got on the meme page. I made memes. now I'm doing podcasts and stuff. So I spend a lot of time doing cop stuff. But I think the people that are smarter than me would probably say hit the gym, go for walks. The thing I hear a lot from cops is a habit, like a good habit, like, get into woodworking, get into this or that as a stress relief, getting away from the job, something not job related.
There's one from the podcast.
Alex, yep. Yeah. I was going to bring that up. My friends, K Fonta Designs, they've been on the podcast a couple times. It's a cop and his wife, and they have a little company, and they blew me away literally and figuratively with the she just flat out said, "Oh yeah, when he's stressed out, I give him a blowy," and I was like, "Holy cow, she's awesome." I mean, there's that.
Yeah, I made sure my wife listened to that podcast. Not gonna lie. Yeah. Well, the other part of it is that when it comes to like stress relief for cops, and I don't know if he is thinking about becoming a police officer and he's looking for an answer, or if he's just curious about what police officers do. Something that's really, that one's distracting as hell. Something that I try to like convey to people is that cops are just like everybody else in society, and we're not all the same. We don't all do the same things, even though we do have a lot of things in common. But I would say, generally speaking, the some kind of physical exercise is super important for cops for a variety of reasons. Being in shape on the job is super important. And that physical exertion at the end of a long day or before you go to work, it's what I do. I mean, I lift, and I've been getting away from the lifting a little bit, getting more into cardio, trying to trim down, not just trim down, but actually lose body mass. But I'm still getting like very serious physical exertion. I'm like killing myself. And there are days where if I didn't do that, I feel like I would just have a heart attack and fall over. And it's weird because I'm like exerting myself to a very high level, fucking killing myself, but it makes me feel better. And it also, I used to tell people, especially when I used to lift heavy and I worked third shift, getting up in the afternoon, going to the gym, and then getting ready to go to work, lifting heavy was a big thing for me because it helped keep my joints loose, which is counterintuitive to what a lot of people understand, but if you're lifting properly, it helped. And cops get problems from the duty belt and from wearing the vest, and then sitting in the car, and some of the cars, the seats aren't right, or that some of the older cars, they have this, I call it a butthole. What'd you call like that giant hole that created in the seat of a cruiser? You know what I'm talking about? Did you ever?
Yeah, it's just like a giant crevice,
Yeah, it's like some of them have like giant hole where your butt goes, and you can't have good posture. So like lifting is a big thing for overall health for me. And then also it is important to have hobbies outside of police work. That's probably the number one thing that the psychiatrist and everything will tell you. And that's one of the things that Lenny and I are both really bad about. We talk shop 24/7, but I mean, we both have families, we both have kids, we both go to sports events and stuff like that. So, while it might be stressful trying to fit that stuff in, when you go to those things, you can literally just shut your brain off and enjoy the moment. So I don't know. Those are kind of my answers there.
Another thing I'll add in, which is unfortunate because of the way things are now, is sports. As far as like watching sports, that used to be a nice way to relax. You'd go home and I don't know who you guys would watch in Ohio. I guess the Browns, right? Browns, Bengals.
It's probably like a 55-45 split. I think the Browns have the edge on the fandom, even though the Bengals have a little more successful lately. But yeah.
So, but it would be nice to just kind of relax and watch the game, right? And not. But now you can't watch the fucking game without shenanigans, so to speak, and so that takes away from it. But I mean, minor league sports, man. There's a minor league ball team close to me, and that was the best during the summer, man. I would just sit out there in the summer and hang out and watch a bunch of fucking college kids play ball. It was awesome.
So you guys have
Great
that out in Iowa, or are you talking about back in Colorado?
No, in Iowa. In Iowa, yeah.
That's cool. We have a minor league team, but getting down to see them is almost more stressful than than it's worth, you know, because it's actually like in the downtown area. I legitimately don't know where to park, and you have to like pay to park. And the people that you're surrounded by down there are people that were throwing bricks at me 2 years ago.
Good people.
Yeah. So I really want to take my girls to a game, because like when I was a kid, we used to go to Indians games. The Indians are a team that doesn't exist. There used to be a baseball team.
You mean the Guardians?
No, that team is dead to me. It doesn't exist. I gotta find a new team. Maybe I'll start rooting for the Reds until they change them and find the reason to make that offensive. But back in the 80s and 90s, the Indians were horrible. I mean, that's why they made the movie Major League.
Fantastic movie. One of my favorites.
And we used to go to the old municipal stadium, and you could just walk in, and it was like $15 tickets, and we did that all the time. And my kids have never been to a baseball game, so something I really want to do. Fuck. Brent's trying to troll. It's hilarious. He's one of my like longest, most loyal subscribers, so I'll give him a break. And I saw Spence asked earlier if I cook. I do cook, but I don't do it for fun. I cook because I like to eat. So
hey, me too.
Yeah, I cook really good food. I just don't like eating crappy food. Yeah,
I can make fucking ramen and mac and cheese and some pasta like a motherfucker. Anything else? Nah.
I cook pretty good. I cook just about anything I want. All right, we had a good food week this week. We've been having this problem especially with sports and everything. We've been going out to dinner too much, like bringing takeout home. But this week on the weekend, I made beef stew, and then we made chili, and then we grilled up a bunch of chicken. So we've been eating leftover beef stew and chili and grilled chicken all week. It's been awesome.
Look at you, man.
Yeah, saving money.
I went to McDonald's tonight.
No, I wanted to so bad, but I was running out of time. I was leaving the gym at 7.
Myself on that one. Well, we I had this going, and then it's been cold and rainy here all day, and I was like, I just want some fucking warm food, and I don't want to make it. So here we go.
At the other thing I did earlier in the week is I took a cookie sheet and I chopped up potatoes and just roasted a shit ton, like 8 pounds of potatoes, and those are in the fridge.
Very Irish of you.
Sure. I microwaved them up tonight, and I dumped a big bowl of chili on top of them. So I had chili and potatoes and cheese for dinner.
Okay, that sounds pretty good.
It was good. I was worried that I'd be belching and whatever too much tonight, but I think I'm doing okay.
You want to talk some cop stuff? We need to prove some points to some people today, don't we?
I think we do. What kind of cop stuff did you have in mind?
Well, that men can't be cops.
I think that is a very valid point. There's been a lot of videos on the internet in recent years of male police officers failing at the job. And it makes me believe that men should not be cops. Let me see if I can find one here. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Let me make this bigger. And we'll see. I'll let the chat know. I had a hard time finding some of the videos that I wanted to use tonight. So if you know of some recent epic failures of male police officers, drop them in the comments and I'll search for them, and I'll have Lenny stall for me while I'm trying to find these things. Heather, that is a very valid question.
I don't think we could define that.
No. Neither one of us are biologists. So I can't answer that question. So the first video I have is the title says naked woman assaults CPD officer and steals his squad car and then runs him over. And this CPD is Chicago police. Do you remember this video, Lenny?
I've seen bits and pieces of it. I don't think I've actually seen the whole thing. I don't know how long the version you have is.
This one is only 1:09. Let's see what.
Okay, so maybe that's what I've seen.
Oh God, she's naked. This isn't the one I was thinking. Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. So, right off the bat, what are some takeaways from the video that I had? Is I saw a naked woman and I saw an older, kind of out of shape cop. I think that's what a lot of people were saying when they watched this video. Are we on par together so far?
Yes.
And he's a little bit older, if I didn't say that. And what's in his hand? What's this?
Probably his fucking radio. All those big city cops don't fucking have lapel mics.
I do not understand that at all. Oh. So she touched him. He just let her walk right up to him and touch her. That's a no-no. I like all these other people are like, adios.
Oh, don't hit me, man.
Oh, and she's gone.
God, that is so bad. That is so bad.
So I'll go back to where we can see her in the screen. There she is. So when it comes to police officers, I can't even do it. Like, this just proves that men can't be cops, right? Because this is a video of a man unable to control a small female, right?
Right. I guess we should maybe give some context to people. Obviously, we don't believe that, but there's this narrative out there that gals can't be cops, and they'll show this video of a girl being overpowered. And my first thing is, how many fucking videos do you see of a guy being overpowered? Oh, that's a nice donut. I think there's a caveat to all this, and because I hate shitting on people that I don't know. Like, I don't know the Chicago dude. It's bad. Like, you watch it and it's bad. But I think we can, at least I can look at it and say, oh, I know how this happened. People are so afraid to touch people and do their jobs because of everything going on. You imagine if he grabbed her up and slammed her on the ground? Oh my God, she was defenseless. She was defenseless. And you beat her up. Holy shit. I mean, am I wrong?
No, you're not. And it cracks me up because every single time there's a video, well, this kind of goes across the board for all police videos, that if something goes wrong, everyone's like, oh my God, every one of this X is garbage and they shouldn't be able to do this. But we see it very often with female police officers where, you know, let's say it's a dude that's giant, like he's an NFL freaking offensive lineman, you know, this dude that's like 6'7", 370 pounds, and you got this petite female officer that's like 5'2", $135. She grabs onto his wrist and he fucking flings her over the car. And everyone's like, oh my God, see, females shouldn't be police officers, blah, blah, blah. And then I get all these comments about how if you're not, 6 foot, 270 pounds, can bench press 380 and run 4.7 40, then you shouldn't be a police officer. And I'm just like, you guys are clowns. Like, stuff like this happens to everybody. And you're very right with some of the use of force type things. I don't want to give the guy too much credit at the same time, though.
Oh no, this was bad.
Yeah,
overall
like
bad.
So we can. This is kind of what I do when I do my video breakdowns. I try to give the overall, like, this is generally what police officers are thinking, and then I want to get specifically into what he did. So I've got videos on my body camera channel of me approaching naked people, naked men and women. I've only used my taser twice. The first person that I ever tased was a naked dude, high on bath salts. I was really new because bath salts kind of haven't been around for a while. He was walking.
Actually,
I gave you 7 rides. This dude he was walking down the street naked, and there was a female officer behind him, and she kept looking at me. She's like, I don't want to tase him. And I told her, I'm not going to put my hands on him, so you better tase him. She tried to tase him, only got 1 probe in, so I moved. Like, she was walking on the sidewalk behind him. I was walking in the street, kind of corralling him. And when she popped her taser and it didn't connect, I basically took her position, closed the distance a little bit, popped my taser, and dropped him. He's laying on the ground, and like he went down flat, so he's just like, yeah. And then the second that taser ended, he puts his hands on the ground and he looks at me. He's like, I'm not thirsty, and jumps up. And I was like, dude, get on the ground. He looks at me and goes, I'm not thirsty. It's like, okay, magic button, zap, 5 more seconds, laid out. He got up 6 times, and it was just me and a female who, she was near retirement. She worked 3rd shift for 33 years. On the same precinct, drove the same car, same assignment, had the same days off for 33 years. She's a legend on the department. But she was like 60 years old, 5'4", 160 pounds with gray hair. I'm not going to get in a fight with a bath salts guy with her, so I kept hitting the trigger, gave him 7 rides. Finally, he kind of figured out what was going on and stopped trying to get up. But, people expect... Well, that's where I was going, the naked people. You just don't put your hands on naked people. It's not fun. You try to grab them one way and you end up grabbing something else. Your hand slips. If it's a woman, you might lose your hand. It might disappear for a minute. I don't know. But then also you don't want to be out in public body slamming females. So there's definitely that. But he still could have done better, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Real quick, can I read this comment?
Yeah.
So, Onyx, but you've been rethinking being a cop, and it's kind of funny because I do this podcast and I warn people. I feel like I warn people like, hey, you want to be careful, and I get messages and people are like, oh, you and all the officers on the podcast inspired me to be a cop. And are you listening to anything I said? Don't do it. Be a firefighter. Don't do that.
Yeah, I had a guy on Instagram the other day. He responded to one of my stories, and I wrote him back, and he's like, "Oh my God, thanks for writing me back, dude." He's like, "I'm a huge fan of yours." He goes, "I almost went and joined the Columbus Police Department because of your channel," and I remember thinking to myself, "Oh my God, like I would feel so bad if somebody went and joined that department because of the videos that I put out." I would feel horrible. Like, especially, no, that would scare me. But he ended up moving out of state. He lives in Arizona now, and he's a police officer out in Arizona. So good for him.
I've heard there's oceanfront property there.
There is. I'll sell some to you. I've got some.
Oh, cool. Will you throw the Golden Gate Bridge in there for free?
No, this isn't a song lyric. This is real.
Okay.
I'm talking about money here.
Moolah.
I know you overplay that joke.
It's my favorite joke, and I'm fucking do it every time I want.
That is
like,
your favorite joke.
Well, it's one of my favorites. Anytime anybody brings up Texas, I'm making all my exes live there, and then I'm also going to anytime anybody brings up Amarillo, I have to. I don't have a choice. I have to. I
got into an argument with a guy one time.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. You know this.
I got into an argument one time with a guy who was talking about some band playing in Texas, like his favorite band, and this is like 15 years ago. And I forget what the band was, but it was like metal. And I go, they can't play in Texas. He goes, what do you mean they can't play in Texas? I go, you already know where I'm going.
I know exactly where you're going.
I was like, if you're going to play in Texas, you got to have a fiddle in the band. he's like, bullshit, they fucking play in Texas all the time. I was like, no, you gotta have a fiddle in the band if you're gonna play in Texas. And he was so mad at me, he didn't understand what I was saying. He was a dummy.
Can I give a shout out to a band I've been listening to a lot lately? Has nothing to do with Texas.
Sure, tell the people.
Mastodon. Go listen to Mastodon. Holy shit, amazing. 20 years too late, but Mastodon is awesome.
I don't know if it shows up in my playlist. I'll put it, that'll be my gym music next time.
Yeah, go listen to Mastodon.
I've been back into like Pantera lately.
Are you going to go see
No.
Good Alex, by the way, that was a good call on Ghost. Also go listen to Ghost. Pantera. I'm not going to go see them when they come around. It's not Pantera. You know that, right? They're going back on tour.
No.
But they're going back on tour with Zach Wilde on guitar. Zach Wilde is amazing. I don't know who's playing drums, but dude, it's not Pantera. It's a cover band.
I don't go to concerts.
Why? They're so fun.
You know what's fun is working concerts. I love working concerts. I don't like going to concerts. It's not fun to me.
Oh, I love it, dude. That's like, I look forward to that more than anything.
I hate people so much.
You're not there for the people. You're there for the music.
I know, but there's so many people that it distracts me from the music. And I can listen to music in my car on Spotify.
It's not the same, bro.
I can drink
there and we're gonna go to a concert together, and you're gonna fucking like it.
I can drive down the road listening to real Pantera, drinking $2 beers instead of $9 beers for virtually free.
You're driving down the road drinking beer.
I'm so glad you caught that. I want to answer this question, Scott. I don't recognize you from being here before. One thing that I don't do is talk specifically about my employer or exactly where I work. It's okay for people to know, but it's not okay for me to talk about it on live stream. So that's it as far as that goes. And then this one, it says, Officer Ben sounds a little under the bottle, but seriously, you're my favorite. I don't know what you mean by under the bottle. My voice is a little different because I'm getting a cold, and I keep wiping snot out of my mustache. The mustache is actually helping me tonight because it's keeping the snot from glistening, so you guys can't see it. But anyway,
I love glistening snot. It's my favorite time of Christmas season.
It's like my kids, your kids, I'm sure too. When they have a cold, you like look at them and there's like big snot on their lip. You're like,
oh yeah.
Can you not feel that? Like, what is wrong with you?
Yes, it is the cosmic ghoul. Yes, it is.
I don't understand that.
It's an album. You listen to that at the gym. You'll love it.
One of the things I listen to a lot, I don't know if I talked to you about this, is Sabaton. Are you familiar with them?
No, I've never heard of them.
Sabaton is good. They're from Sweden. And
well, then they're good.
They're very good. And it's like old school rock ballads. And they I'm pretty sure every single one of their songs is like military inspired. So they have a song about Sergeant York, the Lost Battalion in World War I, the Bismarck, you name it. It's awesome. He says, Mike is more worldly than I. And he says, oops, I meant to do this one. He says Scandinavian. Is Finland in Scandinavia? Is that a Scandinavian country?
Yes. Yes.
Are we talking about regions or countries? I don't know.
Region. I would say
Okay.
like Finland, Norway, and Sweden would be Scandinavian.
All right. The consensus says. So, do you want to get back to this guy?
Yeah, sure.
Because we talked about, as a police officer, when you come across a naked person, and especially when you come across a naked woman, especially when it's a naked woman that's relatively small in stature, how you don't want to grab onto her or be tossing her around and all that. But she already, I think, walked up to him and like touched him, which is a big no-no. Like, do you let people touch you?
No.
Yeah. Like, if someone puts their hand out like that and literally touches me, that hand is mine. Like, this is not your hand anymore. This now belongs to me. And when someone's on the ground and you're trying to gain control of them, it can be awkward. When someone's standing up and they literally put their hand out for you, you now have a device that you can grab onto and you can swing around and you can do a lot of things with. And it's not as awkward. You can also put one hand on the wrist, especially if it's a female, give it a little twist, get your hand up under their armpit, that person's not going anywhere, especially if you tower over them the way this guy does. But he doesn't do any of those things. I legitimately don't know how it went from there to there. Okay, so the door's closed.
I'm telling you, man, I think people are so afraid of doing what they need to do that this shit happens now, you know?
Well, and like, as I see it in my videos, anytime there's like the slightest use of force, people are like, oh, that officer didn't need to put hands on somebody in that situation. Well, the reason the officer is going to put their hands on somebody is because they know that this is about to be the next thing that happens. God. So.
It's so bad, dude. It's so bad. It's so bad. It's painful to watch.
And then it's also like, this is the part where I really stop giving you the benefit of the doubt. Because, okay, I get it. There's a naked woman. You don't want to have a use of force, blah, blah, blah. She touched you, but she's not going to hurt you. It's not the end of the world. She opens your door. We should start to figure some things out here. She gets in, and where do you position yourself? Like,
yeah, it's bad.
Like, these are things that we should be thinking about day by day, minute by minute, right? Every single time I respond on a call, if I'm talking to somebody, I am aware of what's going on around me, of the position of that person and the position of everybody else around me. And if another person walks into the room, often I will turn my body so I can see everybody and not have my back to anyone. Knowing where the exits are. I'll also, it's a kind of a different situation, but like, if there's an exit and there's people in the house I don't want out, I will naturally position myself between that person and the exit. Just like this, you're always thinking about where you should be, and this guy is just not thinking. Do you think it was just the boobs that distracted him?
I would think, as a cop, and with everything at stake, you would fucking hope not, right? Like, you're at that point in time, you're professional, and it's not like it's a controlled environment. It's like you were on the fucking street.
I know, but what if he hasn't seen boobs in a really long time? He's just like, boobs.
I think you're giving him a weird out here, man. You made this really fucking weird.
I did. Bethany brought up a good point. She's like, if you touch people, then people scream. You didn't even de-escalate. It's like, touching people is de-escalation.
The way I was taught is exactly that. You grab onto something. I should preface that based on your boob talk. You grab onto somebody, you grab onto their arm, you control them before they can do anything else. Now, at my department, we had a guy lateral from either Detroit or the metro area in Detroit. And the arrest control function, the arrest control system we used, I guess maybe it was a little more aggressive than other departments. He said, if I was in Detroit snatching people up like this, we would have a problem. And I found that interesting, because that's all I knew is, controlling people so they couldn't hurt you. But I mean, you see it all the time now everywhere, is there's no control over folks. And I think part of that is a symptom of everything going on.
Yeah, it's a little bit of like the crowd shouting at you, you shouldn't be touching that person. Like, I posted a YouTube video recently of a guy pulling a gun, and the officers had him pinned to the ground. He's still trying to point the gun up at the officers, and the crowd is yelling, "You're hurting him." And I'm just like, yeah, he's trying to kill him. Sorry. But there's other departments that have different, I was going to highlight that one too.
Yeah, I want to talk about I could go on a rant about this, because I sort of agree what he had to say, but you want to finish your thought before we go on this?
Yeah, but there are some departments, like maybe Detroit's one of them, where they have like excessive reporting requirements, where if you literally use an escort position on somebody, you have to report that as a use of force. And I don't know, Chicago might be that way, because Chicago has gone loony. So where they think, oh my God, if I did that where I came from, I would have gotten in trouble. That's just bad policy by those departments. That's it.
So, Spencer Honda, your comment, pausing videos to discuss what an officer should or shouldn't have done and real things in real times. Sorry, I can't read. If anybody listens to podcasts, you know that aren't happening in milliseconds isn't fair to the police. I agree with what you're saying. And if I may have the floor for a second, it pisses me off because I see a lot of people on Facebook and Instagram, and that is kind of their business, right? Like they were cops and aren't cops anymore, and they've made it. I mean, a lot of people make money off their Instagram posts, or they have training or whatever, and they're putting people on blast for shit. And so I agree with what you're saying, Spencer. But I think the reality is if we never showed these videos or we never talked about these videos, we couldn't improve either. So I think it's the way you address these issues. And I don't know. Were we being unfair? I don't think so. I think we gave like a good, like, hey, this is probably what he was doing. But you're right. We're not in this guy's head. We don't know exactly what he was thinking and what he was going through. We can only assume based on our knowledge. So I guess just for future reference, anybody that's ever going to listen to these again, I don't know everything, right? Like we're just two guys like anybody else giving our shitty hot takes. But I'd like to think that we're fair with our shitty hot takes. But you're right. I mean, like I saw one that it really pissed me off. Like the guy put a tourniquet on a guy and he was wrong about how he put the tourniquet on. And they were shitting all over the dude. And I'm like, yeah, he fucked it up and we should talk about this so it doesn't get fucked up. But why are we shitting on this dude? You know what I'm saying? I think there's a way to do it. You know, there's criticism and then there's constructive criticism. Is that fair?
No, it's fair. This is why I want you here, because there's another point to that as well that I don't think Spence considered is that when you and I watch these videos at real time, we see it happen slower than the average viewer does. So when I pause a video to tell you something that's going on, it's because I think you might not have noticed it when you watch the video because you don't watch it through the same eyes that I watch it through. So like when I was watching this at real time, like I'll turn the sound down. It was very obvious to me what was going on. Like I even said, "Oh, look, she touched him. Look." It makes me cringe right there. I don't need to pause it to point that out. I'll pause it so that we can kind of expand on what's going on and talk our full thoughts. But no, there's different times where, like, especially the videos where somebody who goes for their waistband and pulls out a cell phone, or they're just pulling up their pants and then they bring their hand up and there's nothing in it. But the officer in his mind was like, oh my God, that guy's about to fucking kill me. Shoots the guy. And then it's 30 frames per second and they'll slow it down, 30 times. So you're seeing it frame by frame by frame. And then they'll pause it and they're like, look, there was nothing in his hand. Well, the officer didn't see that. So I think there's a good time to slow things down and show people. And then there's also an inappropriate time. This particular one, this is something that every officer in the world is looking at this like he's making a series of poor decisions. And then, like Lenny was saying, the reason that we go over these is so we can say, here's exactly where he went wrong. She got into his car and then he positioned himself outside of the door frame rather than inside the door frame. And we can't talk about it without pausing it. So there's a little bit of this and that.
And like I was saying, you got to be able to review that stuff. This is an interesting one. I agree with that. Would you rather have a supervisor who micromanages or a supervisor who's only there to collect a paycheck? I would not want a micromanager. I'd want the guy in the middle. That lets me do my work, but also is there as a resource if I need it, or if he sees an issue, he comes to me. Because I think as a society, that's kind of where we're failing each other is, I guess, except for cops. Cops, we will shit on each other all day long, but you have to be able to take the criticism. And I think in this day and age, if you're going to be a cop, you got to realize no matter where you work, it's a fucking reality TV show now. And if you can't accept that there's a potential you're going to be on TV, then you probably shouldn't suit up. It is what it is. Like it's a fact. It's a reality. I want to try and be fair to people, right? Like there's been a lot of incidents lately that I think maybe cops were unfair to these people, right? Maybe not. But we have to be able to actually look at these situations and discuss them, because if we just ignore that they happen and say, well, it won't happen to me. One of the best things I ever got as advice is when you're driving into work, think about stuff that could happen and how you would handle it. Watch a video on your way to work. Not while you're driving to work, but watch this video. And then while you're going to work, all right, this is what this officer did. What do you think I could do better? Like, I don't want to be embarrassed on TV like the next guy, but if I am, I hope somebody learns from it. Is that fair?
Yeah, and that question is a little bit unfair because it's like polar opposites.
Yeah. But I mean, out of the two, though, what would you take?
Fuck.
That is like somebody mentioned. It's like a fuck, marry, kill. It's like the same thing.
Yeah. Well, at this point in my career, I'd rather have a supervisor that's just there to get a paycheck. To be honest.
But when you're new, you probably don't want that.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing that people don't understand too, is that there's different phases of your career. There's different, like the third shift supervisor has to be on his guys a little bit more than the first shift supervisor, because we've been on for a decade and we fucking know it, and we've been on for longer than some of our supervisors have. But a good supervisor finds that balance. He's not up his guy's ass all the time, but he's also making sure that they're doing the correct thing. That's it. And there's some guys that when the supervisor corrects them will whine and bitch and say that guy is micromanaging. Man, I mean, that's just cops. I think you have that in every profession, people that bitch about stuff like that.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, it's not going to be perfect, right? Like, even before all this fucking craziness happened, what do cops do? Complain about everything.
Yeah. He followed up on that.
I complain about everything.
We do. You should hear me at roll call every morning. It's hilarious. I run roll call basically with my bitching. But everyone seems to appreciate it. But he followed up. So the reason he asked that question is dealing with polar opposites. That sucks, man. And it kind of depends on where you're at in your career. Like I said, when I was on third shift, especially when I was brand new, when I went from like a really nice area to a very high crime area, I kind of probably needed a micromanaging supervisor. But at the same time, a supervisor that's micromanaging isn't letting his men grow, because you need someone that's just going to be there to make sure it's like support. I don't want to get into that whole thing, but like, being supportive doesn't mean that you always agree with somebody. Being supportive is that you're there to catch them when they fall so that they don't fall. You're supporting them. That's what a good supervisor is. Not the one that's like dragging you through, telling you what to do all the time.
Yes,
but
agreed.
Yeah, but where I am now, we on first shift, we do so much supervised level type stuff that I want my supervisor to basically leave me alone. I want him to schedule my training. That might be about it. Schedule my timing, my training, approve my time off, approve my overtime, and then leave me alone, approve my reports. That's about it. If in like the first shift supervisors, they've been off the street for so long that when it comes down to if I make an arrest and they're reviewing my paperwork and they think I did something wrong, it's probably him that's wrong. So I don't know. That's just a little thing. And we joke about it too. Me and my supervisors do.
Tell your friends, buddy.
Yeah, Jeff is he's a chat moderator too. He's been around for a long time.
I guess Jeff. I'm kind of new here. I should probably learn everybody.
You do. When there's a couple of names that aren't here, I don't know. We'll see. I announced this the day of, so it is what it is. Have we beat this dead horse enough with this particular video?
Did you say horse?
Are you gonna bring it back up? That's a
Yeah, I
nay
think
for
it-
me. Ooh. So I'm drinking the E.H. Taylor small batch tonight. It is very smooth, very sweet. Doesn't really kick. I think it's only like 90 proof. Oh, it's 100 proof. But man, it goes down smooth. Every once in a while you get like a little whiff, but that's it. It's good. All right, so
While you're
this is
looking
the
at
other
the
one.
next video, Alex, you gonna keep doing it? I think we talked about this is gonna be a pretty regular thing. Hopefully, Friday or Thursday nights. We're still trying to figure that out. But Thursday,
Yeah.
wait, whatever day, Friday or what nights? Thursday or Friday nights are the plan. So that's kind of hopefully the new thing.
Yeah. I mean, I was on a live stream schedule where I was doing it every Wednesday night for a while. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed hanging out with the crowd. It's even better having someone to talk to because it's without having to wait for the chat and stuff like that. I enjoy this quite a bit. I think Lenny and I work well together where we think along the lines well enough, but we also have offsetting opinions on a lot of things. And I think that helps. It helps me. And I think it'll help you guys understand too. So the only question is, when we have family stuff, like I have some Friday nights coming up that are busy. He has some Thursday nights coming up that are busy. So we might kind of bounce Thursdays and Fridays around for a little while, but we're definitely going to try to do this for a while and see if we can grow the channel. So there's that answer. There was something else in there. Oh, somebody brought up Sovids. You want to have like a Sovid Citizen stream sometime?
We can't. I got to be honest, man. I ran into like a lot of assholes, but not. I don't think I really had. I had a few people throw out like the Black Sloth stuff, dictionary, but or Moors. Like we'd have like the Moors IDs and stuff. But I didn't have a really good story about it. But we could definitely talk about it.
I've never dealt with one. Well, I have dealt with one, but not in like a confrontational type situation. There's a guy that pops up in a chat frequently. He's not currently banned. I usually will ban him when he says something really dumb, and then I'll unban him because he's hilarious. And then I'll ban him again because he's annoying. But I think I've got him going down the right path now, which is crazy because he made a weird comment the other day on something. Oh, it wasn't even that weird. It was, he goes, oh, he commented, you seem like a pretty good dude. You should have been a sheriff instead of a police officer. Cause you know how they're like, they think that sheriff's deputies are the only ones that have legal authority. And I took that as like a huge win for me, breaking through to this guy because, there is he also lives where I work. And I ran into him one day. His next door neighbor died. And, I was there helping that guy's roommate. And this guy comes over, we're dealing with a dead body, and he just starts going off on me. He's like, hey, I know who you are, blah, blah, blah. And starts just spouting off this shit about how George Washington sold the United States to France and something about the flag with the gold trim around it is fake and all this weird stuff that I'm like, bro, there's a dead body upstairs. I'm worried about that right now. But he comes into chat. But I've dealt with him, but I didn't have a problem with him. And the funny thing was he kept trying to argue with me about things like officers enforcing COVID laws, speeding tickets and all this other crap. And I'm like, dude, I have never written a single speeding ticket in my career. I didn't enforce any COVID laws. And the only thing that my department did when it came to COVID was escort the health department people so that they didn't get beat up. And it was like explicitly stated that they were not to enforce any COVID type laws. It just didn't happen where I am. So it was kind of funny. And the thing I kept saying to him is like, dude, if you would shut your mouth long enough to listen to me, you'd probably find out that we agree on more than we disagree about. But he didn't want to listen. He's coming around though.
You don't agree with it? You think the yellow trim flag is not real too?
I don't even know. I don't care. It's a flag. It's hilarious. And there are some like First Amendment auditors going around that I've seen. I was on one of the guys' live streams months ago. I didn't want to promote it because I didn't want to give him any views, and I also didn't want to acknowledge that was me in uniform on a video. There's an issue with that. But I've commented on his videos before, and I usually harass him and make fun of him. And on the one that I was at, he was just standing across the street filming, and I walked out of this vacant house. I saw him standing there, which isn't that unusual because people film the police every time the police show up. And I waved at him. I'm like, hey man, how you doing? He waved back. He's like, good, how are you? And I got in my car and drove away. And then later, like as I rolled around the block, I was like, that's who that motherfucker was. And I pulled back. I was going to mess with him, and he moved. It's a good thing that he moved because I would have probably made an ass out of myself. But anyway, did you have to deal with any of those type of people? The filming from the sidewalk and all that?
Yeah, where I worked, and I can't give it away, but there's a particularly famous, well, not famous, like area famous guy. Him and his buddy would come and do that kind of stuff. And he actually, the interactions I had with him, he actually liked me. Because the whole point of those dudes is to rile people up. And at least these guys seem to respect when cops didn't get riled up. You know, I mean, you can tell them to fuck off without riling people up. You know, that whole kill them with kindness thing.
Yeah.
But it drives me nuts that to this day, like everybody knows or should know how to deal with those folks or have an idea how to deal with those folks, and people are still falling into the trap and making an ass out of themselves.
Some of them, like I was literally thinking about it the other day, like the parking lot in the area where I work, on my substation. It has a fence around it, but it doesn't have signage that says you can't enter. And people come in all the time because they want the police, and we're not generally there, but if we happen to see them there, we'll try to talk to them. And if we had somebody that was carrying a camera around, going around and trying to open cruiser doors, or at least touching the cruisers and filming what's inside the cruisers and filming what's inside our personal cars, I would probably approach that guy and ask him to leave. And then if he didn't leave, I was really thinking about this the other day, like, what would I do? Because then I'd have to, we put out, our legal advisors put out some updates a couple years ago when this one guy was going around testing everybody. And I can't remember what the wordage was, if it was on a parking lot, because it's fenced in, but there's no gate. I'm pretty sure he's not allowed to trespass there. But I don't remember. And I was like, fuck, I'd be caught in a noodle loop, because I don't want to be that guy that gets named in the next federal lawsuit. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, and that's, again, that whole, like, thinking about what you would do and reading your statute and figuring that shit out before making an ass out of yourself, because you're not gonna learn everything in the academy. You're not gonna know. Everybody expects, and this is gonna sound worse than I mean, but there's a lot of traffic code. There's a lot of different laws. There's a lot of different case law. I think the expectation of society is that cops are up on it, which I think is fair, but realistically, you're gonna run into stuff that you just don't know, or there might be like a weird little loophole and stuff like that. So and it changes too, and it changes without notice. We don't always get notified in case law and stuff like that. So it can be, even legal changes, it can be difficult to keep up on that.
Well, that, and, you're going to remember whatever's fresh on your mind. And if some legal update came out 2 years ago, which isn't that long a period of time, there's a good chance that you're not going to remember the specifics about it, because you're remembering the last couple that came out in the last 6 months. And usually they build upon each other. Like, at least the legal advisors from my city, they're pretty good about hitting on the same topics every year with new case law, just to kind of to refresh our memories about it. But there's still some weird things, like some of the trespassing on public property, and search and seizure changes almost daily. There'll be something that was like good to go for years, and then all of a sudden some judge is like, no, and it gets appealed and it gets denied. And then you're like, okay, this case law that we've been following for years is no longer good. Stuff like that happens. And people will like these channels like Lackluster. They'll make a video saying, "Oh, these police officers were morons. This is clearly stated in this 1974 case." And I'm like, go fuck yourself.
That I'm sure they knew about
Yeah.
prior to them Googling it.
Yeah. He didn't spend like days researching that video, you know, something like that. Anyway, you want to do the next?
Yeah, let's do the next. And then I saw that some interesting stuff came up in the chat, so we can hit some
If there
of
was
that
more,
stuff.
we can hit that. I've been half-assed looking at the chat. That's
You were welcome
really nice,
to our
Connor.
service, sir. Thanks, buddy. If you want to hear me go on a rant, this is a good one.
Go for it, because I don't have an opinion.
Okay, do you know what Kalia is?
Yeah, we're accredited.
Don't worry, you suck.
We have the
So-
stickers on our cars.
Perfect. So Kalia, I don't remember the acronym, but it basically is an organization that accredits police departments as following the best practices in the country. And it's basically a scam. It's basically a scam because I've seen so many agencies, and apparently yours included, that are embroiled in all these controversies. Where's Kalia? We're doing best practices. We can't best practice any further. What is the point of Kalia? So, Kalia is a ripoff, and it's essentially stealing money from taxpayers because the police department, where do they get their funding? From taxpayers, and Kalia needs money to get those stickers on your car. So Kalia is a fucking joke. Defund Kalia.
I know that my department makes a lot of money off of that CLIA certification.
They make
The city
money
makes a
off
lot of
of
money.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, then that explains a lot.
Yeah, we have a training. We have an academy, a large academy, and we train people from all over the country. And I believe that CLIA certification has something to do with that. Like, we make a ton of money off of our academy. So
It's full circle now. My department did not. They only trained people, that were officers.
yeah.
City, so.
What's his name? Saul. His brother was actually in town at my academy for training recently.
Really?
Yeah, he sent me a message. He was not his brother, but Saul. He was like, "Hey, if you see my brother, kick him in the nuts." And I was like, "I'm not gonna know who he is." Like, I'm gonna start walking around like, "Hey, are you so and so's brother?" Like, no. That's funny. Brent's always there. Brent drives a I don't know if it's specifically just flour, but I know for a fact a lot of it is flour. He drives a truck and he delivers flowers to bakeries. And he was the one that made me go to Audino's to try Audino's donuts because he's always there and says it smells delicious. And if you go to his Instagram, he has a picture, a lovely picture, where there was a flour mishap, and he's got it so caked into his eyeballs.
No.
I felt so bad for him when I saw that picture, but it was the only thing that made him not ugly. I'll give it that.
What did Popo Medic do before homework? I hate homework, but I think you meant before he went into documentaries. Should we give
Like
we
working
should,
from
should we
home.
give Popo Medic a free plug, or should we?
I'll give Popo Medic a free plug. He's been good to me. He's been nice.
He's been so good to me. I'm here's a secret for the few of you guys on here. I'm really trying to get him onto the podcast again. That should hopefully happen soon. But he really blew up, man. The documentary stuff. So before that, he was kind of doing cringe stuff like Jeremy DeWitt stuff. I think somebody was commenting up there is doing Jeremy DeWitt. He was doing meme reviews. He's a fucking funny guy, but he kind of went head first in these documentaries and really has done a bang up job.
Yeah. Well, I'm like regurgitating his podcast appearance, but his background was that he was a medic and then he became the police because I don't know, people have this idea of what it means to be a firefighter, and you had a firefighter very recently on the podcast. I would encourage people to listen to that episode. What was it called?
Oh God, what was it called? It was something ridiculous. I think it was something. I guess I could look it up. You keep talking, I'll figure it out.
But yeah, he had this guy that was a firefighter, and it was a good episode. firefighters don't put out fires very often. And a lot of the stuff that the medics do is not even something that would require a medic, like picking up people that fell down, or going and looking at people with minor cuts and bruises, or people that need a ride to the hospital because they weren't going to their doctor like they're supposed to. Or they fell down and twisted their ankle 3 days ago, and at 3 a.m, they call 911 because they want to go to the hospital. So that's what a lot of the medics spend the majority of their time doing, just like police officers spend the majority of their time doing stuff that's a complete waste of their time that they shouldn't be doing. So then he became a police officer, was working as a police officer in Hawaii for a while, had a TikTok account. I don't remember how many followers he said he had, but it was a ton, like 500,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
And was that?
Yeah.
It was huge TikTok account. And all he did was make fun of TikTok cops, which is hilarious because everybody fucking hates TikTok cops except for teenage girls, I guess. And
Don't even get me started.
I started following that Instagram account. What is it? Defund TikTok cops. Have you seen that one?
I've seen a couple of them. Pretty good. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. And then his TikTok got shut down. So he started making YouTube, but doing the same thing on YouTube that he was doing on TikTok. So that's how he kind of got into the cringe stuff. And he decided to quit being a police officer and be a full-time streamer and YouTuber. And he was having a hard time kind of, I think, making a living doing it. So he decided to, what was his first video? First like documentary style? Was it the
was it the cartel one?
I don't know if it was cartel or if it was one of the big shooting videos. But he wrote like a script and did a whole documentary, and it went bonkers. It got like 2 million views in like 2 weeks. Then he decided this is what I'm going to do with my life. So now he's doing that. And Rangers versus Crips. Josh Gale threw it up. Yeah. It was a good video. It's something that I need to do more of, is actually writing a script and sticking to my script and telling a story. Maybe it was a Hollywood shoot. I don't know which one it was. You guys are smarter than we are.
The Hollywood Shootout was one of my favorite ones. That one was really good.
Yeah. And it's been done a bunch of times.
The first one he did, that was kind of during the cringe times, that I thought was just excellent, that didn't get enough credit, was Dorner. You remember that one?
That was a very good one.
That one, I think, honestly, was his best one.
Yeah, I remember I watched that one with my wife, and I told her, I was like, I need to do this kind of content. It's just I don't have time. I work.
But yeah, anyway, he's a fucking good dude, man. I just talked to him on the phone a couple weeks ago. He's doing really good. Yeah. So
every once in a while, he'll still shoot me a DM. And when I was literally starting the channel, had less than 1,000 subscribers, he used to show my videos on the live streams and like tell people to go sub to me and stuff like that. So Popo's a good dude. He's ornery. he's a little sarcastic.
Word right there, ornery.
It's ornery. Is there an R in it? Is that my Ohio accent?
I can't say either. Okay, so let's not be asking me how to pronounce words.
Oh, speaking of people that can't pronounce words, and it's relevant, Pennsylvania. Do you know anything about Pennsylvania people and words?
I don't.
Because like I live right next to Pennsylvania. They say pillow instead of pillow, and they say milk instead of milk. And they say yins. Like yins is like you guys, like especially when you're talking yins over there. Pennsylvania is a strange place. You know what else is strange about Pennsylvania? I was thinking about this lately, and it's poignant because of the election coming up. I don't want to get overly political on YouTube. I try to stay away from it. I do that shit on Instagram and Facebook. I don't shy away. But there's a election coming up on Tuesday, and there's 2 people in Pennsylvania that I'm like, how did this fucking happen? Like Dr. Oz and this guy that's basically brain dead. Like there's 2 bad choices in Pennsylvania. What the fuck is wrong with the people of Pennsylvania that couldn't come up with anyone better to run? I don't know.
I think we could point at a lot of elections and say that, if we're going to be honest here.
I know, but that's just the one that's like right now. I don't get it.
I don't know anything about Oz, to be honest with you. And the only thing I know about Fetterman is just you see the memes. It's hard to miss the memes, and you're like, what's the Munster fucking dude doing running for Senate?
It's just, is there really no decent person that's willing to run? I don't know. It's weird.
And look at what politics are.
Yeah.
Look at what it is. I mean, it's disgusting. It's gross. You have a lot of shitbags doing it. I would, I'd rather do something else with my life.
Yeah. I mean, I had the same conversation with someone the other day. Like am I a good leader? I would like to think that I am, whatever. It's not, I don't like talking about myself that way, but I think that I would do okay. Do I want to run for office? Fuck no. Do I want that job? No. I would rather be in charge of something else. Right now, I'm just in charge of myself. I'm in charge of myself and my car, and I enjoy doing that. I have a simple life, and if you're like a CEO or a business owner that's done well, why would you want to leave that prosperity that you've created to go to Washington? Like, screw that. Enjoy the fruits of your labor. I don't know. It's weird, but yeah, it is strange. Like, Dr. Oz came out of nowhere. I always thought he was just a clown, like a clown TV doctor. And some of his campaign ads have been so cringy. Like, did you see the accoutrement video that he made?
I haven't seen. I've stayed so far out of it this year.
Oh,
I don't care.
It was so bad. He's like talking
Can we
about.
Play it? Do you want to play it?
Let me see if I can find it. I don't know how to spell it.
You remember the old show Mystery Science Theater 3000?
Oh, it's crudité. Yeah.
We could do that with political ads. That could be this whole channel.
That could be funny.
Thought I did some grocery shopping.
Here, I got it up.
Thought I did some grocery shopping.
Let me see if I can get this up. Okay, so you've never seen this.
No.
So he's trying to show that he's like a regular person, and he's at the grocery store, and he's trying to show how inflation affects regular people. The problem is he's not a regular person. He's a very rich TV celebrity, and he starts talking about his crudité. So here, I'll play the video.
Thought I did some grocery shopping. I'm at Wegner's, and my wife wants some vegetables for crudité, right? So here's a broccoli.
Lenny, do you know what a crudité is?
No fucking idea.
I don't either. I don't know if it's an appetizer or a side dish. It's something that rich people eat.
That's $2. Broccoli, yeah.
It's not a carrot stew.
There's some asparagus. That's
not a what?
It's not a carrot stew, is it?
No, a crudité is like it's a more of a dish or a course. It's a course in a meal.
Yes. $4. Yep. Carrots. That's $4 more. That's $10 of vegetables there, and then
also, his wife asked for broccoli. If my wife asked me to go to the store and get broccoli, and I brought home this little thing of broccoli, she would fucking kill me. Like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing.
we need some guacamole. That's $4 more. And she loves salsa. Yeah, salsa there. $6. Must be a shortage of salsa. Guys, that's $20 for crudité. This doesn't include the tequila. I mean, that's outrageous. We got Joe Biden to thank for this.
I like the pop-up video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if this was on. This is like someone reacting to his ad.
I know. It's just it's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the Lincoln Project. Oh, the Lincoln Project. Is the Lincoln Project that like 1619?
America thought.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Oh, that webpage, that channel is horrible. But anyway, that's the Dr. Oz. Like, so your choices are between him and some guy that had a stroke and is drooling down his chin. It's
sounds
bad.
about right.
Yeah. It's like I don't know. That's my Pennsylvania rant. That's all I got to say about that.
Real quick before we get too far, the podcast that we referenced like 20 minutes ago was Injuries Inconsistent with Life.
That's what you named it?
Yeah.
How is anyone supposed to remember that?
Who cares? It's poorly made.
It is.
I saw this earlier. I don't know what the comment was. Somebody mentioned Chief Sheriff of River City.
Oh,
The next podcast that comes out, I have a very special surprise. The chief may or may not be joining for some dating advice, and it goes wrong, and it's amazing. It's honestly, it's fucking up there, man. It was so funny to record.
oh man, because you recorded that the other day.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm a little behind. I just finished the Kosovo guy. Was it Kosovo or Serbia?
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kid's really cool, man. I liked him a lot.
Oh, he was young.
He was, yeah, but he didn't sound like it, did he?
No, he sounded older. I don't know. It was interesting. I used to work with a guy from Serbia back when I was in college, and I waited tables. And it was cool because he grew up there when they were having when the war was going on, and he was talking about how, because I'm not sure who NATO or the U.S. supported, if it was Serbia or Croatia. I think we supported Croatia, and he was on the Serbian side. But he was like, yeah, when the U.S. was bombing, we go down to the basement and play Risk. And I was like, all right. And then I used to have a crotch rocket. I had a Suzuki GSXR 750, and he wanted to go for a ride. And I was like, dude, I'm not taking a dude for a ride on my crotch rocket. Like, you have to hug me, and it's weird. And he was like, no, he's like, and he was like, had his accent and stuff. And he's like this skinny little dude. He's like, no, my cousin used to have a motorcycle, and I used to ride with him all the time. And he was like, please let me go I'm like, all right, fine. I'll take you for a ride. And I was so weirded out by having a guy hugging me on the back of my motorcycle. We were leaving usually we're hugging in other places. When we were leaving the, like this parking lot where we were, there's a giant hole, like on a drainage grate. And I was watching traffic, and he had his helmet. I had a helmet on. He had a helmet on, which is really funny. Have you ever had a motorcycle?
I have not, because I'm a weenie.
It doesn't matter. Especially crotch rockets. It's hilarious because when you have it, like if I had a Harley as well when I got older, and on the Harley I would wear like a half helmet or a 3/4 helmet. My wife would wear a half helmet, but on crotch rockets you always wear a full face helmet because you crash crotch rockets way more frequently than you do Harleys. It's way more dangerous. So like the person behind you is usually a girl, and I'm riding and she's holding on to me, and you know, she's like this close behind you, and when you come up to a stop, you sit up so that you don't go over the handlebars, but the person behind you can't. Nice filter. The person behind you can't necessarily see what's going on. So as I would sit up, the momentum would bring them forward, and there was always this like clunking of the helmets every time it came to a stop sign. But the whole story was that
clunking of the helmets.
I did clunk. Yes, is that another?
That's what you said.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway, sorry.
But anyway, I had him on the back of my bike, and I hit this hole. And he had the helmet on with the face mask down. I couldn't tell what he was saying, but he was yelling, hole, hole, hole. And I hit the hole, and we collided with each other. And then I drove on, and he told me, yeah, when we got done, he was like, I was trying to tell you about the hole. And I said, that's what she said. I didn't say that. I didn't think that existed back then. But anyway, that's my friend from Serbia. I don't remember his name. Good dude, though.
Not much of a friend, huh?
Dude, that was 20 years ago. It's a long time. I'm like old.
You gonna talk about marijuana?
Where did that come from?
It was up here a little ways about legalizing marijuana. I don't want to go. This is like a 3-hour topic. I got to be honest, man. Like, I don't give a shit about it. I really don't care. I happened to be watching a video on marijuana the other day, and they were talking about what happens to you and the side effects, and I was like, fuck, man, that sounds kind of awesome. Why am I not smoking pot? What am I doing with my life?
The only problem I have with marijuana is that so many people have gotten AIDS from injecting their marijuana.
What?
No.
You know, I don't know. I honestly don't care. I think it'll be legal. I'm kind of surprised it's not legal nationwide. But I kind of wish that would have just happened. Legal nationwide, because you had all these people move throughout the country and it kind of like discombobulated everything, and they moved just for weed. They need to go back where they came. I want Colorado back. Go back to California. Yeah. Well, it's legal in California, is it not?
Yeah. You know, it was weird. I heard, you might be able to speak to this. Because, like, especially if you pay attention to conservative media and conservative sites, some of them go a little bit bonkers sometimes. And when weed was legalized in Colorado, like a year later, all these studies came out talking about traffic crashes were up and all this. Was that legit?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because here's the thing. It's like, because people are just irresponsible. I mean,
I need to interrupt.
The other part of it too is the potency, right?
Connor, it's a boomer joke. Get over it.
Okay. It's the potency, right? Where like I think back in the day, people were smoking ditchweed and shit. And I mean, like there was a story about a guy in Colorado that took gummies for the first time, or like I had brownies or something, and he had so much of it, he went to like a psychosis and like killed his family or something. You remember hearing about that?
No.
Yeah, which is like weed. You wouldn't think that, but I mean, I think what happened, it was just like too much at once, and people just kind of went fucking buck wild with it. Because you know what? It's because we can't be responsible, right? Like I'm drinking, right? I'm not gonna go fucking drive my car when we're done with the podcast, but people do that shit all the time. And once weed was more readily accessible, yeah, I think so. I think it contributed to a ton of wrecks.
That's interesting. Because like you can distort statistics so easily. I honestly, I didn't know. I didn't have an opinion. I thought it sounded a little bit hokey. And it's weird. This is actually a decent topic because people get really upset about this topic, but it's a good demonstration of kind of my feelings about separating your personal feelings from your ability to do your job. Because like at the end of the day, is weed the biggest thing in the world? It's not killing people. People aren't overdosing from it. It literally grows from the ground. I have I totally understand why people want it completely legalized. I took down a very large grow operation a couple weeks ago, and the guy was like super cool. We didn't charge him. Our narcotics guys did not charge the owner of this grow. He had his entire backyard. It was like half an acre. It was like 70 plants in his backyard. They just came and took them. They didn't charge him. They just took him for destruction. He was just an old hippie. But there are a lot of people that literally do nothing but smoke weed all the time. And it has to have an effect. Cheers.
No, I'm proving a point.
No, I get it. But I don't know that we need to, and that's where I'm like separating my personal thoughts about it from my opinion on whether or not it should be legal. You know, it's like literally a debate in my head. I think that and this is something that I was taught when I was like in high school, and I don't know if it's still legitimate, but things about how smoking weed, what I was taught, I shouldn't even say it because it might have been disproven by now, but about how it causes fat to build up in the nervous system, which delays the response when neurons are firing, because neurons firing are actually electrical pulses throughout your body. And I was told that it is in the fat deposits between the firer and the receptor. There can get fat in there, and it slows down your processing. I don't know that alcohol does that.
You know, and I jokingly, I'm like, oh yeah, I don't care. Like it's, you know, it's not for me. I don't think, you know, I joke about it, but I'm like, I just don't see myself doing it. It's not my thing. I had an experience in high school, I think like most people did. I didn't like it. I hated it. It wasn't a good time. I don't want to repeat that. So I don't, you know, it's not really for me. But I think it's just one of those things that we spend a lot of time on it. Well, maybe not so much anymore, but we used to spend a lot of time on it. And you're right, it's not killing people per se. I mean, you're going to have to deal with the increased drunk driving, but or intoxicated driving rather. But here's the thing that it's crazy. People are still killing each other on the street for weed. You don't see that with like a bottle of Jameson. Weed, people will kill each other over fucking weed to this day. When it was legalized in Colorado, all these fucking crazy robberies were happening because of fucking weed. So, it's bigger than me just sitting here and saying, I don't fucking care. But I mean, I wouldn't call myself a libertarian because I don't agree with everything they say, but that's, a libertarian view I kind of agree with is you're in your own house. As long as you're not hurting anybody else, I'm cool with it. The problem is people are dumb and irresponsible and they go out and drive or they go do this or that. And people get mad. Well, I did it and my employer says I can't smoke pot. Yeah, your employer said you can't smoke pot. You signed something when you got hired. Too bad. Is what it is. I can't show up to work drunk. Well, I can't now because this is my job. But before I couldn't as much as I wanted to.
Yeah. Well, and there's like two phases too, because you brought up alcohol. I think that there could be legalization. Right. I'm not a fan of criminalizing weed. Let's just put it that way. But at the same time, we need to reduce the normalization or the acceptance of using it so frequently. And just like alcohol, there should be more public pressure for people to stop doing that so much. I don't know, because we've got like high school kids that are smoking themselves out, and by the time they're 20, they're fucking slobbering goons, and
that's not new though.
It's not, but it's only going to get more prevalent, and we don't need to create more useless members of society.
I guess.
So anyway,
real quick, one quick little counter is the same thing with alcohol. I was like, oh shit, what happened? Alcohol, we have kids in high school drinking way too much too, and hurt themselves too. So it's a big problem. Like I don't people. I don't know. This is like I guess a not a popular thing to say anymore, but there's more to life than getting drunk and getting high. And when you tell people that, and they're like, "It was my life. I can do whatever I want." Okay, I get that, but you're kind of missing the point.
Yeah.
I mean, look at how many people that have cleaned up, and look how much better they look. I mean, like it's no joke. Like, I mean, the people that don't drink on a regular basis, that don't put terrible shit in their body, they're usually pretty fucking healthy, man. It's we make it harder on ourselves to be healthy because we give in to these things such as McDonald's and alcohol and weed and stuff like that. I don't know. That's my rant.
Well, and like there's two other points I want to bring up. One is quick. I do have friends that used to be huge potheads that completely gave it up because of one of them was having like was having panic attacks because of weed, and was like extremely paranoid because he was smoking weed all the time, and he had like a really bad panic attack, and he stopped smoking weed and he stopped having them. So he was like, I'm done with that shit. But the other side of it too is, if I could take a THC gummy that would help me sleep at night, I would be on that shit. Flat out.
Yeah, I actually that is a thing, and you hear about the like the CBD stuff too, which I think is kind of being
CBD is like not everywhere. Active though. I don't know. I think that the CBD stuff is overblown, but I drink 2 ounces of whiskey every night before I go to bed. I know that the sleep you get while you're on alcohol is not technically good sleep, but if I don't drink it, I don't necessarily fall asleep and stay asleep. If I could change that to something like THC, if that would have the same effect, I'd be all for it. So like, you can say that I'm like a walking conundrum. I think that just shows that I'm legitimately thinking about the issue.
Wait, you don't just dig your feet in deeper and just stick to whatever you think is going to be your point?
I don't just agree with whatever politician, has an R or a D and then regurgitate everything that they fucking say. Yeah, that's not how I work.
Real quick, I see a lot of good points. I want to go over real quick. Then we might talk about police stuff again. I don't know. But I do agree with what you're saying here, man, that if they legalize weed and people wouldn't be so worried about trying to get it and going crazy over it. I agree with that. But I mean, I think there's something to it. Like, your kids want the stuff that you tell them they can't have, right? It's like the forbidden fruit kind of thing. I think there's some aspect to that, but I think more of what you're getting about is the whole idea. Well, actually, you left a comment a little further down here.
Yeah.
If it's legalized, there's no reason to go buy it on the streets. But there is somehow, because I'm telling you, in Colorado, it was legal and people are still buying that shit on the street. And I think the big reason is the shit you're buying in the dispensaries is like really top dollar high stuff where people, this is what they're going to do. They're going to rob those places and then they're going to sell it on the street for cheaper. You don't see that with alcohol.
That actually leads into the whole legalization of drugs topic that comes up. I see it on my videos all the time when I post about somebody overdosing and freaking the fuck out and the naked chick that pooped all over herself and stuff like that. People are like, oh, the reason this happened is because drugs are illegal. Like, do you think really? Because it's like this slippery slope, but you start with, I'm not even going to say that. You start with weed. Weed's in its own category. But people also think that we should legalize cocaine and heroin and fentanyl, that they should be street legal. And they think that these things are going to stop happening. You're fucking stupid. You're lying to yourself and you're lying to everybody else. Crack and heroin and fentanyl completely take over people's lives and change who they are. It completely ruins you as a human being. It makes you act
Changes
out
your brain chemistry in some cases.
It does. They completely turn into the most primitive animals on the planet when they're using those substances, and legalizing them will not change that one bit. The other part is that
did you just make a Zootopia reference, by the way?
No, because I've never seen that movie.
Oh, you got to watch that movie with your kids. They'll like it.
They've watched it.
Everybody else knows what I'm talking about, though.
Okay. But there was a really good episode of the Joe Rogan podcast a couple years ago. He had a park ranger from California on, and weed is legal in California. Recreational league is legal in California. But the cartel is still super, super active in California with grow operations. Legalizing it has not stopped the cartel from growing weed and marijuana, or weed in California. And if you want to talk about the drug war, you talk about we're taxing legalized weed, and let's say we start taxing legalized fentanyl, cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine. We're taxing all that stuff. And then somebody starts cooking it in their garage or starts farming it illegally. You want to talk about a drug war? You want to talk about the government cracking down on people? Like, they're going to come down fucking hard on these people. It will literally change nothing other than create more addicts. And I'm not talking about weed in that situation. I'm talking about the other stuff. You're going to see more people die. You're going to see more kids die. People will continue to overdose. They will use these substances that causes them to spend literally every free penny they have in order to get high. And when the drugs that they're used to using, like if it's 5 grams a day, after they use that for a couple of months, they now need 15 grams a day. Then they need 20 grams a day. Then they need 30 grams a day just to maintain the same feeling that they had when they first started. It completely takes over their lives. They spend all of their time high. They cannot maintain a job. When they can't maintain a job and they spend all of their money on drugs, they cannot maintain a home. They become homeless. The male homeless people spend their time either begging for money or stealing things and selling them. The female homeless people spend their time begging for money and becoming prostitutes. That is 100% the way this stuff works.
If you care about people, or you claim to care about people, and you're okay with those hard drugs being legalized, I don't know what fucking planet you're living on. It makes no sense to me how people could advocate that. If you came up to me and you said, hey, I don't like the system for enforcing those laws against the user, okay, let's have a conversation about it. But just flat out legalizing it, you're insane. You're absolutely insane.
Yeah. And people also don't realize that the majority, like, it's still a felony. It's a felony in Ohio. It's a felony, I think, across all 50 states or 54 states, depending on if you're a president with dementia. But yeah, it's a felony. And one of the reasons it's a felony is because we hold that over people's heads to try to get them clean. Very few people are going to jail for any time over like a couple of months over possession of drugs, which is like another thing that's in the media and politicians are spouting all the time. You know, nobody needs to go to prison for 20 years for minor possession of drugs. Well, I'm sorry, they're not. And saying that is a fucking lie. But holding that over someone's head might be that carrot that will help them get clean. I've heard that from dozens of people, and I see the comments on my YouTube channel all the time from people saying that very thing. Yeah, so people that think that legalizing is going to make these problems go away, they're foolish. They don't live in reality. They don't know what's going on. Their voice needs to not be heard. That's my take on it.
Good on you getting better, buddy.
I didn't realize that about you, Josh. Josh has been a subscriber for a very long time. He comments on every single video. I didn't realize that he went through that. Yeah, he's someone to fucking listen to. And I don't know if he's said it in the comments, but I'm willing to bet he agrees with the stuff that I'm saying. So
well, and for those that listen to the podcast, I think I've repeated this story, but I had a cousin that died, and it was because of addiction, right? And I gave that speech to people. You know, we had quite a bit of heroin in Colorado, and I gave that speech to people when we found him fucking overdosed. I said, you're going to die if you don't get better. And I had one guy come up to me a couple of years later and said, hey, thanks, for talking to me that day. Maybe that's the only guy it worked on. I don't know. But how many of those people have kids? They don't, that's the other thing. There's a causation and effect and all that stuff. And so we talked about the causation. Now you got the effect of, these people have kids and they have families, and now the kids are getting raised by who knows. And it's just this big effect of everything. But I don't know. It's a big topic, but people just kind of don't want to talk about everything. They just want to say, well, let's just make it legal. Okay, then what? Then what?
Yeah. Well, you brought up the kids. This reminds me of a story from the other day. It's one, when I'm driving home from work, I set up a camera and I try to record videos talking about my day. I haven't been in the mood lately. I've started recording some and just not completed them. Or I'll just reach up and hit stop, and I don't have any content for next week. So there might not be any videos next week. I don't know. I've got one that I might make in the morning, but it's a good one to talk about here because I can kind of flesh it out. The other day I was dispatched on a call of, it was a mom calling in saying that her kids were refusing to go to school. And when you see that run pop up on the board, you're like, are you fucking kidding me? And it sat there and I was clear. And it wasn't on my district, but I was like, I know I'm going to get that run. And often I'll volunteer for that just so I can go and I can yell at the parent and get it off the board. But I that day I was like, I'm going to sit here. And I was hoping that a coaching car would clear up so that they would get it, or an FTO car, as Lenny likes to say. So I sat there and I ended up getting the run. I got it with an FTO car. And it was funny because I was watching YouTube or something. I was sitting in a parking lot. The run, I got dispatched and I was like, I copy. And I was watching a YouTube video. I was like, I'm not moving until I finish this video because I'm not in a hurry to go talk to this fucking mom who can't get her kids to go to school. This is not my problem. This is not my job. We can private call each other's radios. My car radio went off. This guy, I still don't know who the guy was that called me. It was a call number that I don't recognize, and I didn't recognize his name. He he called me by my real name, but he was like, "Hey, is this Ben?" And I was like, "Yeah, what's up?" And he goes, "Did you really just get dispatched on a call about a mom who can't get her kids to go to school?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I'm not in a hurry to get there," which I wasn't. So I called the other car. They had a problem. Their spotlight fell off their cruiser as they were driving down a major road, so it took them an extra 25 minutes. We park. As we're walking up to the house, the front door of this house opens. This woman comes out, and she was screaming at us. She goes, "You need to get these fucking kids out of my house. They're saying that I'm nothing but a bitch, a cunt, a drug addict, blah, blah, blah." We hadn't even made it to the front door yet. I did not leave the sidewalk because I was with an FTO car, as Alex likes to point out. I let them walk up to the house because, when you're on coaching, when you're a new officer, you have to demonstrate that you have the skills that it takes to be an officer that works on your own. So we basically push you to the front everywhere we go, make you handle the runs, and we're there to back you up. This he's a lateral. He's good to go. So I just stood on the sidewalk. And as I'm standing on the sidewalk, I'm looking at the house. The front yard was a mud hole. It was fenced in. There was dog shit covering the entire front yard. It was a really small front yard, but you can tell it's the only area that and you can hear the dogs inside barking. They were large dogs. They're tearing up this yard. The windows, a couple of the windows were boarded up. One of them had a mirror, like a vanity mirror from a dresser, screwed onto the outside of the house, covering up a window. And there was mud. The house was white and there was mud like splattered up along the whole house. On the concrete steps going up to the concrete porch, I noticed a little wood piece that was like this big and it's round. It's 40 millimeters round to be exact. We call them knee knockers. Did you call them knee knockers, Lenny?
I was going to say that's what she said, but go on.
Baton rounds. Are you familiar with them?
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
So we have these 40 millimeter baton rounds that when the narcotics guys go to hit a drug house, they will quote unquote knock and announce, give the specific amount of time that they are required by law to wait before they force entry into home. And then they will have 3 or 4 guys standing on the sidewalk with these 40 millimeter launchers that will launch wooden dowel rods into the windows of the house.
We didn't have those. We had foam. And that's the fancy units.
Yeah, we have wood ones. We call them knee knockers. They're intended for riot control because it's a tube. It's like this long and it's got like 6 of them in there. And you fire them 6 to 10 feet in front of the people that you're trying to disperse, and they will hit the ground, bounce up, and hit their knees. And that's why they're called knee knockers. But they also use them to bust out windows on drug houses. The moral of the story is that this house has recently been hit by narcotics. And we have a mom calling in saying her kids are refusing to go to school. The moment we arrive, she walks out, starts saying all this shit about her kids, this, that, and the other thing. Travis, good to see you. I don't know if I've seen you in the chat yet. You might have just got off work or something. It's good to see you, bud. And you start to realize that this situation is not necessarily what you thought. Then the kids come out and they tell us that the reason that they had an argument this morning is because they wanted to go to school. They asked their mom to wake them up at 6:30 in the morning, and she didn't wake them up until 7:30, and that's the time that they were supposed to actually be at school. When they got up, they had an argument with their mom about, Tom, thank you very much. I know you don't want me highlighting your donations, but I appreciate that. That's a big one. I appreciate it a lot.
Holy moly. Thanks, buddy.
Tom always comes through. He's a good dude. So I get the kids to come out and they tell me, yeah, we wanted to go to school today, but mom woke us up late. And then when we were late, we had an argument and she just said she was going to call the cops. So I waited for the cops. They were adamant that they wanted to go to school and they wanted us to give them a ride to school. And then we talked to them a little bit longer. They hadn't been to school in 4 weeks for no reason. They weren't suspended from school. They just hadn't been going to school for 4 weeks. And then all of a sudden today, school was an issue for mom. the fact of the matter is that this mom is a drug addict, and she has a 14-year-old and a 14-year-old and a 16-year-old that she's responsible for. And these kids haven't been to school for 4 weeks. And then all of a sudden today, she has some kind of hair up her ass where she's going to call the police on her kids. And while they're standing there, she's screaming at us that she doesn't want them anymore, that she doesn't want them in her house, that it's the state's job to take care of them and we need to take them away, this, that, and the other thing. It got worse when I took the oldest one to school. The other car took the younger one to school. I walked into the school and I said, "Hey, does this kid belong here?" The secretary knew him instantly. And I said, "Well, if he belongs here," I told the kid, "Hey, you go to class." And I told the secretary or whatever, I was like, "Hey, I'd like to speak to one of the principals." It took him a couple minutes, and then some guy comes. He's like, "I'm Dr. So-and-so. I'm the assistant principal here. What do you need?" And I said, "I brought this student in. It's my understanding he hasn't been here for like 4 weeks." And he goes, "I don't know. I can look up his attendance." I'm like, "I don't need to see his attendance. I just want to let you know that I brought him in. We're filing a children's services report on his mother because there's some bad stuff happening at the home, at least as per our observations. We don't think that they should be living there." I said, "I would really appreciate it if you could have a guidance counselor talk to him and maybe dial down into some things that he wasn't willing to tell the police when we were there. And maybe you guys can follow up with another children's services report." And he had like some Post-its. I can't really but he got his pen out like he was going to write. And then I started talking and he goes, "Oh, that's all you want?" He's like, "Yeah, sure. We'll take care of that for you. Do you need anything else?" I was like, "No, I don't." And I left. I'm quite confident that nobody at that school followed up with that kid. He hadn't been there for 4 fucking weeks. And he just walked into school and they acted like he wasn't welcome. He has zero support in this world. His mom is a drug addict. His life is complete shit. And there is a 99.9% chance that him and his brother are both going to grow up to be complete wastes of flesh. That is what the drug trade is doing to these people. I also believe that is why these things need to be felonies. Because if she refuses to go to treatment, we need to take her off the street. We need to take her kids away from her and give them an opportunity to be productive members of society. We see that stuff every single day, and it's heartbreaking. I don't know.
The stuff with kids is the hardest stuff. I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever noticed, but I don't make memes about stuff with kids that I can think of, because it's just not funny. Like to me, there's no gallows humor in that kind of stuff. They don't know any better. I'm hard on myself because I think sometimes I could be a better parent and a better dad, but then you hear shit like that and you're like, well, fuck, at least I take them to school. I guess that's a start. But I saw Cynthia had a question about, are they not mandatory reporters in Ohio? How'd that kid not show up to school for 4 weeks? I mean, I felt like in Colorado, if somebody called about like the most minute fucking thing that like a kid would say like, "Yeah, I was at home and I got a hangnail," they'd be like, "Are you sure your dad didn't beat you up?" And they'd call us,
They took the school resource officers out of schools. They also disbanded the truancy units. When they call to report a student having excessive truancies, we don't respond. Period. Like it doesn't even hit my board. I think it gets filtered before it gets to me. I think they're told to go ahead and follow up with the juvenile court, and the juvenile court doesn't do anything. Period. So when you've experienced that enough times, you just stop reporting it. I believe that's what's going on.
That could be.
Yeah. Similar to what happens on the street, man, when I was new, especially on third shift, dude, like if you were on one of the main dope spots, like one of the main drags that's like known for dope, if you stepped off the sidewalk into the street at 3 a.m, you were going to get hemmed up. You're going to get a ticket. You're going to have like 5 guys grabbing onto you. Now I can be driving down the street and some drug addict will walk in front of my car. I don't even like beep at them. I just stop. I'm like, all right, go ahead. And then they go. Like nothing happens to these people. I've stopped enforcing things because I know the court is not going to enforce them. That's like their message to me. Hey, we're not going to punish these guys. We want you to stop doing that stuff. So officers have stopped doing those things. And I think the schools are the same way. It's all cascading down. It starts at the top, but what do I know?
Yeah, and not to go back to the drug thing, because we beat that. I think we need to show some more videos about men failing as police officers, because that's funnier. But, shit, I lost my train of thought, and it's not a podcast, and I can't edit it out. Well,
So not to go back to the drug thing.
Let's talk about drugs. What was I going to say about drugs? Oh, I've been making this point about the drug war lately, right? Where like I don't know everything about the drug war, but I can tell when we stopped and when we started, right? Like, I mean, look at all the deaths. Nobody cares. Like, you know, you might see a news article every once in a while, like, hey, drug deaths are up. Oh my gosh, what caused this?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe the cops aren't looking for that stuff anymore, you know?
Well, it's because we're told that we're racist if we go after the people that are actually doing the stuff. Oh, I hit the wrong one. Hey, buddy. Good to see you. This is your first comment on the live stream, but I see you there, bud. I always see your stuff. I brought up...
First time, by the way. Well, second time. We did another one, but this is a regular thing, so tell your friends.
Yeah. Even though you spelled it wrong. I won't hold that against you.
Hey, I can't spell, so he's a friend of mine.
I have to Google. Like, if you look at my Google search history, it's just words I'm trying to spell.
Oh, yeah, that's basically what mine are.
I even do it when I'm like texting people, and it's really awkward because I know that they can see the little ... at the bottom, and they're like, man, he must be typing like a novel, and it's only like 3 words, you know, it'd be like my neighbor, but I couldn't remember it was like I before E, so I had to Google it. I mean, I'm not quite that bad, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I voice the text a lot, you know that, and I look at it later and like that made no sense.
That's okay. I don't really read all of those texts anyway.
Dick?
This is you were talking about someone getting really stoned out of their mind. I brought this video up. You'll recognize it instantly. Hopefully it's the right one.
We've removed some personal information from the following 911 call.
Please send rescue.
Oh, yeah.
Folks take.
Moved.
For a week. My folks take.
Dearborn Heights emergency?
Yeah, can you please send rescue to... I think I'm having an overdose, and so is my wife.
Okay, you and your wife?
Yes.
Overdose of what?
Marijuana. I don't know if it had something in it.
Okay.
Can you please send rescue?
Okay, how old are you?
I'm 29 years old, and my wife is 26. Please come.
26?
Yes, please.
Do you remember what this is?
Yep. Yeah. The guy that thinks he's dead.
And he was a fucking cop, right?
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
It was a fucking cop. They I don't remember how they got the weed. If he grabbed it from someone and just didn't turn it in the proper room or whatever. It was shady as fuck. And then they made brownies out of it. And they ate pot brownies and he thought he was dying. Fucking dumbass.
You know, I was looking for a weed filter, but apparently you cannot have those. Nothing came up.
Because weed is super illegal. The fuck is all this shit I've got? Oh, my watch later is a weird list. I have male cop fails. Oh, and I've got this one. What are you drinking tonight, by the way, besides the Busch lattes?
I have some. I have a couple spotted cows that I got from our good buddy Tobias.
I'm not familiar with spotted cow.
It's a Wisconsin beer.
No,
it's not bad. It's pretty good.
Cheeseheads. I've always felt like a strange connection to Wisconsin. Like it must be a Midwestern thing. Is Colorado in the Midwest or is it in the West? I think it's in the West.
Would say I used to think it was Midwest, but I would have to say it's the West.
Yeah,
Definitely
I think it's the West.
Yeah.
All right. All right, so this is another police car getting stolen.
What's it? Oh!
I think this is a news broadcast. Do you remember how this one started?
Really intense scene there. Only
I don't remember exactly how that went.
Let me find it. Find the spot.
And got her the woman.
I'm like 6 ounces of whiskey in, so a little slow on some of this.
I started drinking the dough ball whiskey. It's pretty good.
Dough ball whiskey?
Dude, it's fucking so good. It tastes like cookie dough and whiskey. Can't beat
Oh,
it.
that sounds nasty. I don't do flavored stuff. I just drink like whiskey that's meant for adults.
Well, I'm a fucking child. Dude, look at my face right now. Come on.
Here, I'm going to make it bigger so everyone can see.
All right, let me go back to let me find it here.
I like it. I don't know if people are watching that closely.
By the way, dough ball whiskey. It's delicious.
Is it like screw top?
I guess so. I don't, or what do they call it? Screwdriver or something like
No,
that? I
like
don't like that one. The peanut butter one, I think that one's
No,
nasty.
the top. Is it a screw or a cork?
Top. It's screw.
Oh, okay.
I'm not bougie like you if you have a cork.
Like $20-some.
Okay, so what? Dude, not
No,
all of us are rich YouTubers.
No, for one, I showed you how much I make on YouTube earlier today. It's not enough to buy
I don't
anything.
think I want to do this with you anymore, man. I thought we were getting rich.
No, I asked those questions so I can kind of gauge the price so I know what kind of whiskey it is. I have some $20, $25 whiskey upstairs. The majority of what I drink is in the $40 range, $40 to $60 range. So,
there's a, what is it called? It's called Hawkeye, and they make really cheap shit, vodka and whiskey. And like, I got a big bottle of whiskey for $8 when I moved here. It was actually pretty smooth going down, but the worst hangovers I've ever had in my life.
Here, we'll get to Roy in a moment. I like seeing comments like this. I really do. And I know that Lenny does too. Like when I started the body camera channel because I felt that the Columbus Police Department was getting unfairly treated. So I started that channel. And then there were times when there were things I wanted to say. I didn't think that channel was the appropriate place to say it. So I started this channel so that I could say things that I couldn't say there because that channel is a little bit more official. I was very nervous about becoming a social media cop. And I have an Instagram that I put a lot of effort into, my Instagram now. And I post a lot of shit. I don't know if that counts as effort or not.
Okay.
I love Instagram. I think it's fun. It's way better than Facebook. And my Facebook page has like twice the followers. But anyway, I was nervous about putting my face out there and becoming like a social media cop because I'm not a social media cop. I'm just a real cop. And I feel that way. And I get a lot of comments from like guys that are real cops that tell me that they follow me and they like my content. And that legitimately means a lot to me. It means that I am sticking to who I really am. And that I'm not selling out to get views. So thanks for that comment. I wanted to talk about that. So back to Roy.
I think there's a real quick, there's a lot of people, and I prefaced this a little bit earlier, talked about it a little earlier, is that there's just like a lot of people on YouTube to be famous. And, I cracked the joke about making lots of money. I have no qualms that, we're not going to become rich and famous doing this, but it's fun to do. I like this. Like, I like talking about it. I complain about it a lot because my life revolves around it still and I'm off the job. But I think it's okay to be passionate about it, even though, we crack jokes about the blue line and the sheepdog and stuff. It's an important job. It's an important thing for the society. And it pains me to see what has happened, and like a guy like you could leave. You don't because you care. I left. I left. I kind of Sometimes I wish I didn't. I care. I still care about it. I think anybody that knows me at all and pays attention to what I do, I care about it. I want to go back. Not in a liberal shithole, not to get too political, but I want to go back because I care. I mean, there's very few like really great. No, that's a lie. I'll take that back. There's good things you can do on this planet, and there's things that are unfulfilling. I don't know anything more fulfilling than helping somebody, as cliche as that sounds. But when you have that call that you actually help somebody, there's nothing better than that. And, you know, there's people out there doing this job for jack shit for money because they actually fucking care. So that's my 2 cents.
Well, and like, I do think that what I do is different than what a lot of others do, and it's kind of, I don't know. I don't want to
talk about ourselves and build each other up because we're
I don't like talking about myself at all. It's really
it's awkward, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's like basically what I do on YouTube is I talk about the shit that I would have been talking about if I didn't have a YouTube channel. And there's so many voices out there that are saying so many things that are just not true. I can't stand listening to these lies and letting these people believe that they're getting away with it. So I want to confront that. So it's funny because I get comments on my YouTube channel all the time that people are like, "Oh, you're just thin-skinned, and I see that you take down anyone that disagrees with you, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, no, I specifically created this to combat the bullshit narrative that is out there. And I don't think there's enough people doing it. I literally had this conversation with my sergeant the other day. Like I mentioned earlier in the live stream that some guy has attacked me and told all of his followers that I'm a racist and all this other stuff. The only reason that I got attacked that way is because I'm out there telling the truth. And there's people that don't want the truth to be heard, so they're trying to shut you down. I think that we need more people out there telling the truth and telling the reality of what's going on so that we are impossible to shut down and we can't be shouted over. Right now, our voices are being shouted over in the public space. And that's why some of these laws are being passed that are being passed. And I want to speak out against that stuff. And I have the right to do so. I'm granted that right by the Constitution of the United States, and I'm going to take full advantage of it. So that's at the end of the day, it does mean something to me that other cops appreciate what I do. And while some people that aren't cops might not understand it all the time, I'm going to keep doing what I do. So that's it. Roy did ask a good question though. And I see this question a lot. Speaking of stolen police cars, do they have remote kill switches? None that I have ever heard of. Have you know of agencies that have kill switches?
Well, let's talk a little bit about my favorite patrol car, a Crown fucking Vic. Probably woke up my family. Get a little excited about that. Back in my day, we had Crown Vics, and they had killers. So, I don't know. Do you guys have the kill switch at all? Not the remote ones, but a kill switch?
No,
okay.
Nothing.
So, we had them on our Vics, and then they went away, and then they weren't remote, but I'll tell you guys how it worked. And they couldn't do them on the newer cars because there's too many wires and computers and shit. But the idea behind it is you hit the switch, your car can stay running, if you have a prisoner or this or that, but you take the key out. But if somebody goes to drive the car, it's going to turn off. And that was a nice feature. Cops, I don't know what it is, but we're really bad about taking the keys out of cars when we hop out. I think it's because that's the last thing we're thinking about. We're thinking about, all right, what's this threat in front of me? I got to get my seatbelt off. I got to get the car parked. And then you're out. I mean, I can't tell you how many times, like on high risk stop, you jump out of the car, you're leaving the keys in there because you think they're going to run off. The car's going to run, but then they go running. So you chase after them. How many times have you heard on the radio, "Hey, will you go secure my car?" It happens
every
lot.
Time there's a foot chase.
So that is something that I think, if you're a cop, maybe to start thinking about. Because let's be honest, you take the keys out, it takes a quarter second, half a second to start the car back up, kind of thing. I don't know if cop cars are going to start getting to the point where they have the fobs. I would think maybe even not, just because the fobs
We would
work
lose
from a
them.
distance. But boy, that would be a $1 million idea, wouldn't it? If you could find some way to prevent things like this happening.
Well, the cars that we have, and the hybrids have it as well. The new cars that we're going to get are not hybrids, but we do have a button that we can press that it's literally shaped like a key. You press that button and you take the key out. As long as the car is in park, you take the key out, the car will continue to run so that the AC will run and the heat will run in the winter or whatever. You get out of the car, you get back in the car, you put the key in the ignition, you turn it, the car just has been running the entire time. But when you put it in drive, you can go.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's a kill switch.
Yeah, I don't use it. I have never once used it. I have 2 keys on me. One stays in the ignition the entire shift. The car is turned on. I never turn it off, ever. I get out of my car. I lock the door every single time I get out of the car. And I'm very aware of when my car is locked and when my car is not locked. I never leave my windows down. When I'm 30 seconds away from a run, I always roll my windows up. The second I get out of the car, my thumb is on the lock button. I lock the car and I get out. If somebody wants to smash the window and steal my cruiser, that is what it is. It hasn't happened yet, and it's not something that really happens. I know that's about. Oh, and I can also tell you that where I work, we have a cadet program. I'm not going to go into great detail about the cadet program, but I have been having a cadet ride with me on Mondays occasionally. And I have a little bit of frustration with the cadet because when Lenny I don't know if you were the same way, like especially when I was new, when I was on third shift and we were like out there hustling, stopping cars that we believed there were guns and drugs in that car. And we needed to get up to that window and have the element of surprise as quickly as possible. When I pulled over a car, I would have the window cracked open as the car slowed down. I would have the door cracked open. I was ready to jump out. I'd throw the car in park, hit the lock button, basically run up to the driver's side window. I kind of do that when I show up on a run now. I show up on a run, I park. As I'm putting the car in park, I'm opening the door. I want to get out of the car as quick as possible because when you're showing up on a run and you're still sitting in your police cruiser, I feel like if there's an ambush situation, I'm sitting on the X and I don't want to be on the X. I want to be out of the car as quick as possible. I don't like people sitting there staring at me when I'm in my car. But now that I have this cadet with me, I'm out of the car and he's still sitting in the car and I'm looking over and I'm like, are you going to get out of the fucking car, dude? Like, let's go. Like, we're on a run. Like, we need to go. We need to push these runs out. And it's messed up my rhythm of locking the door. But I stand there with the door open waiting for him to get out. And once he gets out, I lock the door and walk away. I never walk away from my car without it being locked, ever. Period.
Cynthia had a good comment as far as the duplicate keys. That used to be a thing, but with the newer cars, with them all needing the computer chip, it wasn't one of those things where, and we weren't even supposed to have them, where you could have the duplicates. Do you guys get keys in the morning? Like, do you have a different car every day?
No, our cars are fleet keyed. I have 2 keys on my belt right now.
Okay. See that the newer cars, they all had like the computer chip or whatever, and so you couldn't just like run into the AutoZone and get yourself a duplicate key.
That's what your agency told you. It's not true.
You sure about that?
Yes, I drive a hybrid, and my hybrid key. The key that I start my hybrid with, because that's my regular car, that car is currently in the shop. And that key also starts the 2017 Explorer that I've been driving while my car is in the shop.
Interesting.
I drive a 2021
and I say that
hybrid.
because we had a guy go try to do it, and he reported back to us that they couldn't get it done. They said it was a chip key, and it would cost like $100 or something.
Nope, not at all. They cost like, not that I've had it done, but it's like $12.
I may or may not. Never mind. I'm not gonna talk about that. I mean, it's a thing, but my understanding was the newer cars you could not. So I guess that's good to know.
No, you can. 100% fleet keys. We all have fleet keys. We're issued 2 keys. They used to. It was funny. When we started having fleet keys.
Okay, but the agency's doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, no. I'm saying like the keys that we got for the car. My department was fucking stupid with keys. And I thought that was stupid too. All the Vics were keyed the same, but the newer cars were not. So.
That was a decision made by your agency, not by the automatic.
Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah. Although, now that I think about it, God, I don't know. It's been so long, I'm confused. But my understanding, because that was something we would do, not like we weren't provided that by the agency. That was something we would do, is to get the keys, allegedly.
Yeah. Well, we didn't have fleet keys originally, and we had a key budget. And then they started fleet keying, because like we had basically every substation had 3 keys for every car, 2 on the board, and then 1 in the sergeant's office. And if we lost 1 on the board, you go get the one from sergeant's office, go to the shop, and have another key made. Then when we went to fleet keys, there used to be 2 keys on the board and 1 in sergeant's office, and all of a sudden the keys started coming up missing. And we realized that people were just taking the keys home because they were fleet keys and there was no proof that it belonged to whatever car. And we had the budget for keys was like 27 times what it should have been. I think one year they spent like $14,000 making keys in my age. It was
government waste.
It was something stupid, and it created a shit show. But they created a new policy that said, look, every single person is going to be issued 2 keys, and literally my key will work in every single car in the fleet. I can start the Chiefs car if I want to. So it's handy. And then if you lose one of your keys, then there's an investigation into how you lost your key. But there's a rumor, I've never tested this rumor, that you can just take your key to any place that has Ford keys and have a new key made for relatively no money. And you won't be investigated if you lose your key. That's a rumor I've heard. I've never tested that.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was funny back in the day, before we had fleet keys. Like our old Crown Vics were not fleet keyed. And if you walk by, like when we were in the Sally Port underneath headquarters in the garage, you'd walk by a car and you could see that it was unlocked. We would always get in their car and fuck with them. Like if you left your car unlocked, you got fucked with. Like we have 5 zones in my city. We would change your radio to a different zone, and it was always hilarious because someone would get in the car and they'd be like, "Car 123, we're heading to the jail," and the dispatcher would be like, "Oh, you're on the wrong zone," you know. But now we have fleet keys, so it's not as fun to screw with people's keys. The cars, it's like cheating, taking all the fun out of the job.
Right. Should we play that video finally? I mean, 2 hours later, why men can't be cops. Or is it gone?
No, it's still here. It's only 3 minutes.
That's what you said.
I forgot. You guys aren't looking at it. Jess, it's good to see you. You're always there. What in the world? I guess if I'm a... Spence, that comment is so far behind. I don't know where it came from. I don't
Dropping
know.
it from the fucking ropes with the elbow.
And then,
I like it.
And then Brett's like, "What are you drinking?" I don't know if you're talking to me or talking to Spencer. I don't know. That's it. I'm really bad about keeping an eye on the chat because we get talking, but I'll watch a little bit. So anyway, this is another video of why men shouldn't be cops. Because here's a man. He's obviously fat. He has a beard. Cops with beards are worthless.
That's not even that fat. You should see me. That guy's in shape.
Well, with my vest on, you know what? He's probably slim. It's the vest. It's all vest right there.
All vest.
It's all vest. I was looking at, I edited a video of me today, and never mind.
For a mental health substance abuse call to turn into a woman stealing an officer's patrol car.
That's one of my favorites. Hopefully they show the other angle.
North County Police Cooperative body cameras captured the vehicle going into reverse. You can see both officers running to stop it.
She got up in the mix of them talking to each other and ran off like she was going to run up the street, and she just busted a U-turn and hopped in the car.
She didn't bust a U-turn.
The car's back end eventually smashes into another tree.
That was most definitely a good thing to see that they actually took their time with her.
I think
because it could have went a
Houston also.
Wait, she's like complimenting the cops on that?
Yeah, they did that
stolen
on the Chicago video too.
They did a good job with that. Come on, man.
Yeah, I saw on the Chicago one too. There was a guy that filmed it, and they were interviewing him, and he was like, "Oh, you know, I feel so bad for the like they're finding the most sympathetic witnesses, which might be another thing that's really hard to articulate." And that people think that the citizens are afraid of the police officers in the community, and that could not be further from the truth. The citizens in these communities, like these hood communities or whatever, they love the police and they hate seeing bad things happen to the police. I mean, that's a fact. But here's how it actually happened. So the guy was just standing there, and he's talking to this person that's mentally disturbed, and here's how it went.
Also recorded this cell phone video in front of her home at K Park Drive Sunday.
Oh, she pulled a U-turn around the car.
That's why she said U-turn.
Yeah.
She just ran around the car and then hopped in.
That was a fantastic move.
This is why
an NFL team, man. That was a great route.
Oh, this is why you fucking lock your car. Like, I've never gotten out of my car and left it unlocked. And if I do, I don't leave the door, period.
Like for me, ideally in a call like that, I'm getting out and I'm taking the keys out of the car. Like, just turn the car off and walk up to the call. Like, when the kill switches went away and, whatever with the keys, I just fucking turn the car off, fucking walk up, I don't know. What's weird to me is I see these videos of these cop cars parked right out front of where they are. Are we not like parking a block away or, a couple houses away anymore?
Couple houses away is what I was taught. Sometimes
doesn't always work out.
And sometimes you're driving down the road and the numbers are like, you're going to 570 and you're like 465, and then all of a sudden you're like 460 or 560, and you're like, fuck, I gotta pull over. And you look up and you're like, well, I'm right in front of the house. It is what it is. But yeah, you're not supposed to park, but who knows where this person lived. They might have pulled up on this person that was down the road from where they lived and got out and talking to them. And this is another one of those ones where this is a person with mental illness. They're trying to give them a little bit of space, make them feel comfortable, trying to talk to them, without putting their hands on them, saying, hey, look, I want to help you. I want to get you to the hospital. I'd like to have you sit in my car, without making them feel cornered, making them feel like it's their decision to get in the backseat of your car. So they're giving them some space. It's just they didn't lock their car. I'm gonna play the whole thing again because it happens so fast.
Recorded this cell phone video in front of her home at K Park Drive Sunday.
Oh, we were very glad that tree was there, because if not,
she goes, we're very glad that tree was there.
Should we thank that tree for its service?
Yes. Here, we'll find it here.
Closely as the woman falls out of the vehicle and onto the street.
And it was in reverse.
The car is still moving. She is safely placed in handcuffs and put into the back of a separate squad car.
How much trouble do you think they're in?
When off.
I don't know. Like, I don't know how discipline was at your agency, but at mine it was like a documented critical counseling or constructive counseling is the first level, and then a written, which is like a permanent letter in your file. I don't think it's anything more than a written, though. I don't think they're doing days off.
You don't think so? I think that'd be days at my agency.
Oh, my agency, it wouldn't be days. That's funny. I don't know what this guy's saying. I don't care what he's saying. Like, lock your fucking car. Oh, is this going to be the body camera? They have Nissans. Somebody said Nissan in the chat a minute ago.
Yeah, what's with the Nissans? That's weird.
This guy's he's local to me. He knows a lot. He always knows where I am in my videos. He calls me out. I don't know why you asked me that question. My agency doesn't have any Nissans. My agency has only Fords. One of the big reasons for that is because they only have Ford certified technicians. I was actually down there the other day talking to them about my car because it's a hybrid. These hybrids, these new ones, are having so many problems, and there's so many safety features on the new cars that it's a huge pain in the ass. Like, we get flat tires all the time. We get low tires all the time. We get guys that are like bumping up on curbs all the time, so you're losing tire pressure. And my car was 4 pounds low on the front right tire for like 3 days. And I wasn't going to get a new tire because I was waiting to see if it was actually losing air. And I'd get it in the morning and see if it was losing air. And by the afternoon, I'd be too busy to go get a tire or get air or anything. So I just left it 4 pounds low for like 3 or 4 days. And then one day I also went and got gas, and the pump I was using, it didn't shut off like it was supposed to. So I was standing in the front door frame on my phone looking at Instagram probably, and I was pumping gas, and all of a sudden I heard fuel hitting the ground. I looked over. I probably dumped like 2 gallons of fuel on the ground because the pump didn't shut off. So I went inside and I got some shit for the ground, whatever. As I drove away, I started getting all these errors on the dashboard of the vehicle. Because it thought that I had a fuel leak and all this. It was like critical error, blah, blah, blah. Then the car went into limp mode. I don't know if you know anything about Fords, and I don't know if this is universal across all auto manufacturers, but if it thinks that you're having a problem with the car, it goes into limp mode, which doesn't let you drive fast. It doesn't let you accelerate fast. And if you're on the freeway, it will slow you down.
Maybe I'm in limp mode. Maybe that's my problem.
Like for you personally?
Yeah.
That might be it. But the car would go into limp mode, and it would make you believe that there's something wrong with the car. It happened to me one day when I was driving to the shop to get a new tire, and I called my sergeant on the way there, and I said, "Hey, this car is going to need to be laid in soon. I'm going to get a tire, and then I'm going to probably go lay it in because it's not shifting right on the freeway. It's only let me go up to like 58 miles an hour, blah, blah, blah." Well, I went and got a new tire. The moment I got a new tire, all of the check engine lights went off. Everything stopped. And I went out and I drove it, and everything was fine. The reason the car was acting up is because I was 4 pounds light on air in one tire. So this happened again when I wasn't at work. Second shift, ended up laying in my car, and I was at the shop talking to the guys, and that's when I found out about all these problems they're having with the hybrids. And they actually said, due to the shortages, they're having a hard time getting cruisers in. We normally order 70 or 80 new cruisers a year, and this year I think we only got 30, which is putting us in a crunch for having cruisers out on the street. And they actually looked at the Chryslers. I think it was just the Chryslers. They went to Chrysler and like, hey, we might get some Durangos from you guys. But when they looked at it logistically, the cost of training the new mechanics and also keeping Chrysler parts in the shop and all that, it was not possible. So they just fixed up old cruisers that we bought some new transmissions that we would not have bought in the past. Like, he was telling me that they spent they're spending like $10,000 per transmission on some of these vehicles just to keep them running, where in years past they would have just junked the car. But that's how short we are on cruisers. Yeah. Anyway.
I wanted to hit this question real quick. Aren't police cars kind of hard to drive without training? They're just normal cars.
Yeah, it's literally just a car.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few more bells and whistles and stuff, and they may have like a police suspension, but it's just a normal car.
Well, it's like the Explorer model. if you go to the dealership and you drive a Explorer ST, like the sports team Explorer, you're basically driving a police car. It has the same brakes, it has the same engine. It's the same car as a police car. The only difference is our cars have a cage in the back and we have a light bar and stuff, but you don't need to learn. That doesn't change how you drive. One thing that's been frustrating about our cars, I don't want to, we're going to cut this off at 3 hours. We've got 20 minutes to go. As they've recently changed out our, the light bars that we use and the siren box that we use. And it's kind of combined with our cameras because we went to Axon body cameras and we're going to Axon cruiser cameras, which it's all really nice. But I've been driving the same car in the same light panel for a decade. I can be driving, looking at traffic and reach down, know where the air horn is and hit the air horn when I'm in traffic. They changed it and I don't remember where it is. And I literally have to look down every single time that I'm driving lights and sirens and someone kicks me off. It pisses me off. That's about it.
Those are your thoughts.
Those are my thoughts on that. I've had too much whiskey. I'm starting to slur my words.
Did you out drink me today, man?
I don't know how many of these I've had.
I've only had 2 beers and a couple sips of whiskey, so you probably got me under the table.
I did. I'm starting to feel it. Let's see. Somebody else said that Chevy has limp mode as well. Has same transmission that's going to hang up in pursuit mode. Let's see. Has the same transmission that's going to hang up in pursuit mode when you're just trying to beat a red light at 30. I haven't noticed any transmission problems in the new ones like that. The police versions of the car, unlike the civilian versions, in the civilian versions you have like drive modes. The police version is always in its mode. It's just, it is what it is. And it's not in sport mode. I can tell you that definitively. There have been some transmission issues, but not like that. And the thing that you said reminded me of something else, and I can't remember what it was. But I don't know. Anyway. Most LEOs I know miss. Yeah, especially Lenny.
It's true.
I mean, I do enjoy the raised platform of the Explorer, and I enjoy having a stereo and a Bluetooth connection. I've got to say that. Now, if they could have put that in a Crown Vic, the Crown Vic was sweet. Have you ever watched Battlestar Galactica? This is an odd segue.
What are you, fucking Dwight Schrute?
Well, the thing about Battlestar Galactica, I'll go and spoil it for you guys. I don't know how deep do I want to get into it. So the space fleet has become completely digital, and basically all the ships are run by computers. And then the cybernetic organisms take over and start attacking. And this one ship that was meant to become a museum ship was the Battlestar Galactica. It was an old school ship, and it was still run analog. And it was the only battleship that was able to still kind of do battle because it was analog and it wasn't digital. That's how I think about the Crown Vic. Like the Crown Vic, like the new vehicles, like especially I was talking about the hybrid, it goes into limp mode if you have a low tire. The Crown Vic was just a fucking tank. You know, like you could have 3 flat tires on it and that thing will still drive. It didn't care. It didn't have traction control. It didn't have collision avoidance. Like it was just it still had literally cables going back to the brakes and all this other stuff that the new cars don't. Everything's electronic. So the Crown Vic is amazing. And I wish that they would make a new version of like a purpose built, like some modern features, but without everything modern for police cars. It would be nice.
Have you seen that meme where it's like, I want to start bringing toys into bed, and then the guy brings like the police car?
I think so.
Yeah, here we go.
That's
you want me
funny.
to bring these to bed?
I just saw that recently.
That's one of my favorite memes.
Yeah, it's
man.
like, oh, we
Fucking
should.
one of my favorite. I'm
we
pretty
should
sure I've
incorporate-
bastardized it before, but it's one of the best ones.
Like we should. It's like a woman talking to her husband, like, "Hey, we should incorporate toys into bedtime." And he's like,
Yeah.
"Sweet!" And he brings matchbox
Yeah,
cars.
yeah.
That's hilarious. There was something else I was gonna say. I don't know what it was. So ready for the week. Yeah, Connor's already ready for next week because we're starting to drone on. What else were we going to talk about? There was something that you wanted.
Man, was there something I wanted to talk about?
You wanted to talk about because I told you that I was dispatched on a run. This is good information for the crowd. I was dispatched on a run the other morning about a little boy that appeared to be 4 or 5 years old running down the side of the road on a very major roadway. It was a 4-lane road with a turn lane, so 5 lanes of travel, and it's a 50-mile-an-hour roadway. Someone called in that there's a child running along the road and that they believe this child was at risk of being seriously physically harmed. So they called it in, but they did not stop to try to help this child. And the person who called it in was a school bus driver driving a school bus. That's like their job, to make sure that children are safe. So when we called back and said, "Hey, where is the kid now?" They're saying, "Oh, I don't know. I continued on my route." That was infuriating because we ended up driving around, going to like every daycare in the area, and everybody said that they weren't missing any children. So we didn't find the kid. We ended up leaving.
So here's my rant, which, by the way, my friend just sent me a text message of this guy at my old agency just sent me a text message of him and another guy in the car listening to my podcast. That's cool. But here's the thing that drove me nuts as a cop is you get these calls. Don't we say that whole thing like it takes a village, but then we'll just fucking leave little kids on the side of the road? People call in and say, "Yeah, I'm concerned about my friend. Will you go check on him?" Your friend doesn't want the cops. He wants you to come over. I get there's a time and a place, right? There's a time and a place. Well, I think he killed himself. All right, you probably don't want to go see that. That's what we got to do. But there's so many times like that in society where people could just be good to one another. Like, somebody has a blown tire on the side of the road, and you guys get the 911 calls about that, like, oh, somebody had a tire blowout. Go help them. Like, people don't do anything good for one another. They expect somebody else to go do the good things. I mean, the thing with the kid that blows me away. I mean, I was so mad about that when you told me that, and I live 1,000 miles away. There's a kid that could get hit by a car and you just fucking kept driving. Stop being so fucking selfish.
Yeah. We ended up finding the kid later. Somebody else actually grabbed him, and it turns out he was autistic and he was an escape artist. That's something that a lot of people,
my jurisdiction.
We have a lot. I talked to a mom a couple of days ago that they put a lock on the top of their door, and they even put an alarm on that lock. So if the kid pulls it, they'll hear it. And somehow the kid still got out. I mean, some of these autistic kids are really brilliant and they know how to get out, and they do. And it's scary. But speaking of just lift a fucking finger and help your fellow man, like that point that you were trying to drive home. Mm-hmm. It's funny. I wish I had the video queued up, and I'm not going to search for it right now. I posted a video on the Body Camera channel probably over a year ago where a guy, he was a young guy, he was probably in his early 20s. He walked up to a prison hospital, basically, that's in my jurisdiction. And he knocked on the door and he said, "Hey, I have mental illness. I need help. I need someone to take me to a hospital, whatever. Can you guys help me?" And the people at this prison hospital, the prison guards, basically, they called 911 and they said, "Hey, this is your jurisdiction. You guys need to come down and pick this guy up." It was a very busy night. Officers were busy. It took, I don't know, a little bit over 2 hours for officers to be able to respond to this location. they called in multiple times about this guy saying, hey, are you guys still coming? This guy's still out in our parking lot. And the dispatchers were like, look, we had a shooting. Everybody's tied up. We'll get there as soon as we can. When the officers finally arrived, they go knock on the door and they say, hey, where is this guy? And the people at the front desk said, I don't know. He left. And they're like, well, where did he go? They're like, we didn't see where he went. He left. And the officers ended up, somebody else called for him at a gas station way down the road, like a couple hours later, and they found him. But I made a comment and I pinned the comment and I was like, this is the biggest case of not my fucking job I've ever seen in my life. And I actually had a lot of people arguing with me on that because they're like, well, these guys are prison guards. They're not CIT. They're not trained to deal with people with mental illness, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, listen, you're up all night anyway. You work third shift. You're in a lockdown facility. All your prisoners are fucking locked down. You got a guy that's knocking on your door saying, hey, I'm thinking about killing myself. I need to talk to somebody. There's nothing wrong with walking outside and just talking to the guy and hanging out with him while you wait for police officers. And then people will say, well, that's not their job. Do you know how many fucking things I do that are not my job that I do because no one else is going to do them? How many people that I sit and hang out with that I don't need to sit and hang out with? How many people I give rides that I don't need to give rides to? Like this bullshit about that's not my job. Like I get it. There's certain things that I'll even do. I'm like, yeah, it's not my job. I'm not going to do that. But when somebody really needs help, fucking help them. And I don't know if your name is Dave. I'm going to call you Dave because it looks like your name should be Dave. Yeah, the medics won't respond to something like that without police officers. So there was nobody to respond. The police were all tied up. These guys were law enforcement trained individuals. They're working at a fucking prison. The guy was he was tiny. He was a tiny little guy and he was very nice. He was suicidal and reaching out for help. And all the help that they did was they sat inside their building behind glass doors and called 911 for this guy. Like, I have seen McDonald's employees do more for people than what these fucking public servants did. And they're a fucking disgrace. And anybody who would respond to a person like that, if you've got the time, you're not literally engaged in something, fucking help people. Like, just do something. That's the reason our society is so fucked up right now, is because nobody is willing to lift a fucking finger to make improvements on this world. It's always somebody else's job. There's so many people just sitting back. Like, I joined a Facebook group for the neighborhood where I work, and I just monitor it. I don't comment. I just like to see what's going on. All the people whining and bitching that their food stamps haven't come in. They're just sitting there waiting on their shit to come in. Fucking do something for yourself. I don't know. Do them for yourself and for people that need help. I mean, God, I don't know. That's
people, dude. Maybe I should take the pig mask on when I'm about to say something serious, but people, it's a very me-centered world we live in now, and people like to make these statements and these proclamations, but then they won't do anything to actually make things better. And people are selfish. I mean, no one wants to help each other out because there's no time for it, right? I don't want to brag on the community I live in, but you know what? People go mow the elderly people's lawns. That shit doesn't happen in very many places anymore. People shovel the sidewalks for the elderly folks. People do nice things for their neighbors because the whole love light neighbor thing, right? Apparently that's bad now.
Yeah. Well, and everyone's afraid. They're afraid that if they try to help somebody and they end up hurting them, they're going to get sued, or if they don't do something the right way, or they're afraid that if they step out to try to help somebody, that person is trying to con them. I get that. But for God's sake, I get it. If you're a gas station attendant and you sit behind the cash register and you just call 911 for someone that came in. But if you're something else, like if you're some kind of healthcare worker or a fucking prison guard or like anything, like, I don't know. I've seen tow truck drivers stop and help people. I don't know, so many things. And just like so many of the good things I've experienced over the years are because one person made a decision to lift a finger to help another person. They don't realize if more people did that, and just in the slightest way, how much better our society would be.
Oh yeah, 100%, man. 100%.
It's crazy. There was something I saw. Oh, I wanted to mention this. We'll button it up here in a moment. I don't really follow Mike the Cop. I kind of follow. I think I follow him on either Facebook or Instagram. I can't remember. I don't pay attention to much what he does. But as far as collaborations, guys like Mike the Cop, Officer Daniels, Donut, whoever the other major big ones are, there's not going to be a collaboration. They don't respond to me. They don't return my emails. It doesn't happen. Donut knows who I am, and he's shared my body camera footage a lot. But I've reached out to him, and he's not responded to me. There's not going to be any collaborations of those sorts unless they reach out to me, which I don't know. We'll see if that ever happens. But yeah, that kind of stuff is just.
I don't want to be rude, but I feel like guys like me and you are a little different than those folks.
Well, we are. And that person might not have been around when we talked about that.
Yeah. Have we talked about? I don't know if we've talked about Mike. I mean, like, I guess, you know, I don't know. I don't want to talk shit because it's not really productive. But I guess I would just leave it there. Yeah, Donut, I've been trying to get him on my podcast for a long time. He's a good dude. I got to be honest. Like, he shared my memes on his channel, and it was huge for my page. So I'm always going to be thankful to him. You know, he's got his thing. You know, Daniels has always been good to me, but I don't know. I think guys like that are maybe doing things for different reasons than we do what we do. You know, you can take from that what you want. I don't have like any personal problems with those guys, but I think we're just doing different things, if that makes sense.
I feel like they got sucked up into the social media cop thing. And they're not cops first. I think they're social media guys first. There's a difference.
Yeah, I think there's probably something to that.
Yeah. Anyway, I am kind of hammered.
That dude's a legend, by the way, Brent. I fucking love Angry Cops.
He's a good dude.
Yeah.
He's a cop. He's a real cop that really works.
And cares.
Yeah. His content, like I'm not his audience. For probably about half his content, I'm in his audience. Like his sketch comedy stuff, I don't really get, but when he's making fun of people that are making videos, I don't know. I think that him and I would get along great. But I don't watch a lot of his content, if that makes any sense. He's a solid good dude. And he's not social media. He's a cop that is also a comedian. I don't know. I like him, but I don't watch a lot of his stuff.
He's a guy that if he was on your shift, you know you're going to have a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you also know that he would take care of business because there's videos of him like.
Oh yeah, there's videos of him taking care of business. I love it.
Taking care of business. He is actually a lot like me on the street. I haven't put my hands. I don't necessarily put my hands on people the way he puts his hands on people. He's had some criticism for that. But the dressing down of people, yeah. And there's a video that's going to be coming out relatively soon of me raising my voice. And
that's scary. You raised your voice in a mean manner.
I wasn't mean. I was telling someone to get out of the street, and they weren't listening. So I had to tell them. And a couple people that are here have seen it because I shared it with my Discord. I was looking for advice on how to edit the video. But anyway, if you join my Discord, every once in a while I'll do that kind of thing. I don't participate in Discord a whole lot.
Somebody said they were going to bully me on Discord. I remember.
Yeah,
saying that
I highlighted that. He is super active on my Discord. Discord is cool. It's like it's a place for like everyone that's in the chat now to go in there and kind of hang out and chat with each other. I read it often. Yeah, it's in the description of all my videos. Maybe not on my live stream videos because I don't know how the description works, but there's a link there. Should be an invite for everybody. I kind of monitor the Discord. I don't always participate just because, I'm running 2 channels, 2 Facebook pages, 2 Instagrams. I have a lot to keep up with, and I don't like having my phone in my face all the time. So I'm not always in there chatting and stuff, but I am aware of what goes on in the Discord. And occasionally, if I'm not sure about how I edit a video and I want your guys' take on it, I'll post it in there as an unlisted video so the rest of the world can't see it. So you do get a little glimpse into kind of what I'm doing. So, Mr. Vibes, thank you very much for the donation. You can always go back and watch the replay. We've been basically bullshitting like this the entire time. Is that fair?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe next week something major will happen in the world that we'll have to talk about.
I would say this one was, dare I say, poorly made. But it was a lot of fun, man. I'm looking forward to doing this on a regular basis.
I enjoy it. I enjoy doing the podcast when I do the podcast with you. This is basically what we're like on the podcast, right? Talk about whatever.
Pretty much. We just talk about whatever the fuck we want.
Whatever we want. I don't know. I enjoy it. And I kind of anticipated this one to be a little bit poorly made, a little bit helter-skelter, because I haven't done a live stream for so long.
Was that a Beatles reference?
No, it's just a real word that people use.
Is it really?
Yes. They do in Ohio. You've been in Idaho, Iowa, one of those I states, Indiana, Illinois.
You know what's funny is my daughter always wants to do, sorry, one more fucking random story. My daughter always wants to do, like little geography things. And I was like, all right, name all the states that start with I. And she goes, Idaho, Illinois. And I said, that's it? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, are you sure? And she's like, oh, Iowa. And then she's like, what about Indiana? I was like, oh, fuck, I forgot about Indiana.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So there you go.
Here, I'm going to highlight this because Connor's always bitching about this. It says, it's not fair a lot of people join the voice chat, which I really don't blame them. However, they don't really need to worry. I don't know shit about Discord. I know that there's a voice chat thing. I don't know how it works. I had some guy ask me to join his live stream sometime and said that he would probably do it over Discord. And part of the reason I didn't reply to him is because I don't know how Discord works. So I don't know. What's the point to go in there and voice chat? Is like calling people. I don't like talking to people on the phone. I don't know.
You got a problem with my face?
I think it's a great face. It's a face that only a mom could love.
It's true.
But somebody married you, which is, I don't know how that happened.
Odd.
It is odd. Anyway, any final words of wisdom tonight?
Holy shit. I'm being asked that. Don't be a dick. How about that? Words of wisdom.
Don't be a dick and help your fellow
man.
man.
You see a 4-year-old running along the highway, maybe go make sure the kid's okay.
Yeah, just a little bit. And then, man, we can go into all the welfare check and stuff sometime too, because I've made videos on it. It's a topic that I like to talk about.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
I don't have any words of wisdom. I just enjoyed kind of getting back online, hanging out with everybody. I hope everyone had fun. Thank you to the people who donated money. We both really appreciate that. It doesn't matter. We're all friends here, but me and Lenny are sharing the donations. So we both really, really appreciate that. We're not trying to get rich here, but the donations do help. And
they do.
Lenny is not working full-time as a police officer anymore. He's doing the online thing 100% of the time. He has the podcast, the Poorly Made Police podcast, which if you do listen to podcasts, I would encourage you to listen to. I only listen to like 3 podcasts. A couple of them are news related. The only one that's like entertainment based is Lenny's Poorly Made podcast.
Hey, she looks cute. Yeah, I'll start out OnlyFans.
No, but his podcast is great. He's actually a really good host. He talks to police officers from literally around the globe. And it's just really neat. You get to hear a perspective that you generally don't get to hear, but you also get to hear how similar police officers are, regardless of what country they're from and what language they speak. So go support his podcast. It's one of the best podcasts that's out there. Some of the best police content that I've ever seen. So
that makes me moist hearing that. Thanks, man. Do not listen to episode 1, by the way. Yeah, she's absolutely right. That was a fucking mistake. That was one of those things I really regret doing. I dug myself a hole on that one. But
here is I'm going to give you guys a little bit of background information that I don't know if Lenny even recalls.
Okay.
But I had not yet started this channel. And he announced on his Facebook, the Poorly Made Police Memes Facebook page, which was the only meme page that I followed for a very long period of time. He announced that he was in fact a police officer and that he was going to be leaving the profession, that he was no longer going to be a police officer. Made this big, long, dramatic, sappy post about it and said that he was going to be starting a podcast and wanted sponsors. So I reached out to him. I sent him a message. And I said, hey, whenever you get started, I want to support you leaving this profession and I want to help support your podcast. I didn't care about the advertising. I didn't care about getting my name out there. I didn't want anything in return. I just wanted to support a guy who had made the decision to leave police work. I wanted to support him and make him successful in that. And he wrote back and said, I'm still trying to figure out how all this is going to work. Blah, 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 but I'll get back to you when I have it figured out. Then the podcast came out. I listened to episode 1. I listened to like the first, 10, 15, 20 minutes. I didn't finish it. And I didn't listen again for a very long time. And then one day I got an email from him and he was like, hey, are you still interested in supporting the podcast? I was like, yeah, I'll give you some money. How much do you want? And he told me about his ad rate and what he would do and this, that, and the other thing. And without listening to the podcast, I went ahead and sent him some money. And then I started listening to the podcast and it had been, 8-9 months into him recording these. It was, when I started listening again, I was like, man, I couldn't believe how good it was. I'm not just saying that. Me and him are good friends. One of the reasons that we're good friends is because he does such a good job with his podcast. So that was a little bit of backstory about how we really got together. And then he asked me to be a guest. And then we started having an affair.
You said the fucking quiet part loud, man. Between me and you.
Sorry. I thought everybody knows. Like, everybody knows.
Well, since I got to be careful what I say, man. I don't know what it's allowed on YouTube. But since you scratched my back a little bit, I have to say, man, I don't say this lightly. You're doing God's work because I left, man. I got mad at everything and I fucking took my ball and I went home. And you've essentially put the middle finger up and said, no, fuck this shit. We're going to tell the truth. So I'm not articulate like you, but that is worthy of an applause, which I don't have my sound effects right now. I don't know if I can do sound effects.
I don't know if they would work or not.
Should we test it?
Go ahead. Don't do a fart.
Oh, okay. Of course a fart. Yeah. Let me pull it up here. I would be pretty impressed if that's like the worst thing that you don't need that on your channel, man. It's fart noises.
I already got your face. It's bad enough.
Oh, dude, that's pretty bad. Do you get it?
It was only through your microphone.
That's too bad. We might have to figure out how to do that.
I legitimately don't know how to make that work on this program. If I do OBS, I might. Anyway, what'd you say? Oh, you mentioned about me being on the job and giving the middle finger. I don't know if I've ever really addressed this. It's one of those topics that when I'm making like a truck video or when I set up the camera, I try to talk about it. I always stop the video because I go off the rails. But yep, it's
That's
true.
what I was
Troy.
gonna say is we were blowing each other.
Yeah, Troy's
Thanks
a good dude. He's been around for a long time too. No, when people ask me like why I'm doing this and how long I'm going to do it, whatever, I have a goal of outlasting the people that I criticize. Let's just put it that way. They're not going to outlast me. They're not going to force me to leave. I'm not going to quit. I'm stronger than them. I'm better than them. They're fucking cowards. I will outlast them. I'm determined to do that. I just wanted to say that. Like that.
You sound like Homelander right there for a second.
Yes,
I am better.
But I am not a piece of shit. They are.
No.
I don't want to go down that rabbit hole right now. Maybe next time.
I love that show, by the way.
It's amazing, but we're going to have to wait another 1.5 years for the next season.
What? 1.5 years?
I don't know. I haven't looked it up. The last season ended weird. I don't want to spoil it.
No, it's not, because it got spoiled. I was really late into that show, so I knew some stuff that was going to happen. Or I thought I knew some stuff was going to happen too. Fantastic show, The Boys, if you like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, if you like irreverent stuff. Oh, Spence. Lackluster has gone nuts, and I'm going to make a response video to him soon about the whole police officers have a duty to respond, Supreme Court stuff. The reason that he gets so upset about that and the people that get upset about that is because they don't understand what duty means. They confuse legal obligation with duty because they only think about themselves. So
what?
Yeah.
People think about only themselves?
Yep. And they lie about people. Little backstory, he made a video making fun of me talking about officers being professional and charging a county prosecutor with OVI when they could have very easily turned off their cameras and not charged him and nobody would have ever heard about it. The only reason I ever heard about this charge is because they were professional. They did their job. When I posted the video, there was a lot of people in the comments screaming that he got preferential treatment. I think I've talked to you about this before.
Yep.
Because he was released at the end of the night. And, so I made a response video. I was like, this was not preferential treatment. This is the way everybody is treated. And I said, if they were corrupt and they were given preferential treatment, they wouldn't have charged him. This would have been very easy to hide if they were corrupt police officers. They didn't. And the fact that they charged him like they should have, should be a compliment to them. And I didn't like seeing people dragged. Well, he made a video where he specifically called me naive and said that I didn't know what I was talking about. So I responded to that as well. And he eventually admitted that he was wrong and that I was right and that I'm an expert and all these other things. But he recently commented on that video where I talked about police officers and their duty to respond. And we had a little argument and I told him that it doesn't matter because he's a dishonest human being and I don't believe anything that he says and he has no credibility in my eyes. And he replied, oh, that's an ad hominem attack. No, it's not an ad hominem attack. You're a piece of shit. And you have a whole body of work showing that you're a piece of shit. And I have demonstrated as such the way you attacked me. And I showed that everything you did was wrong. That is how I base my opinion of you. An ad hominem attack would be when you see a police officer and you say, oh, well, he's a police officer. He's obviously racist, so I'm not going to listen to him. There's a difference between an informed opinion and an ad hominem attack. And I have had enough alcohol in me that it's hard for me to say those words.
I don't even know what they mean, but it sounds really serious.
Yeah, it's not serious. But I think it's time to say goodnight.
I think it is time to say goodnight.
Alrighty.
How do you say goodbye to these things? Do you like kiss the camera and wave, or what do you do?
No, it's awkward. It's like super awkward because I tell people I'm going to say goodbye.
I feel like this is like hanging up the phone with like your 8th grade girlfriend. Like, no, I love you the most.
Like normally the live streams are cut at 2 hours. And at about 10 minutes till I tell people like, hey, final time for questions. and then I stall for like 90 seconds because I think it's how long it takes, and then I answer the last couple questions. Tonight we've rambled so much, we're not getting a lot of questions. I think everyone's actually, they're just being polite. The only reason they're still here is because they don't want to be rude.
Don't make it
turn
awkward.
off.
Don't make it awkward, bud.
But that's what I do. Oh, him? You're talking about Jeff?
Yeah. Yeah.
We're all staring at you.
Oh, shit.
No, it's good. And I enjoy this kind of live stream. If you guys can, I know that the chat is here, but once the live stream is over and the video post, go leave your comments about what you liked about it, what you think we could do better. We would really appreciate that, because this is going to be a weekly thing. We might take summer breaks because we both have multiple kids that have sports, but definitely through the winter months, this could be a real thing, right?
Oh yeah, definitely, man. I'm in.
Alrighty. So I'm going to go ahead and end it right here. Thank you very much for everyone that hung out with us. Hope you enjoyed. Give us your feedback on how we can do better next time, and we'll talk to you later.
See you guys.